everybody. Welcome. It is the Brian and Vinny and Craig and Lance Storm Wrestlemania 9 Toga Party. Hello, everybody. What's going on? Top tiers, YouTube. Of course, all of our friends, twitch.tv/F4W video. I'm your host, Brian Alvarez. Joined, of course, by Big Vinny V. What's going on, Vinny?
Hi, Brian.
Hello. And, of course, we have got Craig. Hello, Craig.
Hello.
Yes. And Lance Storm.
Live on location.
Yeah, what in the hell are you wearing, dude? Is that a towel?
I went old school college toga party where you use either a sheet or a towel and you pin it and make a sleeve and over one shoulder and you're ready to get drunk.
God damn, if you knew how much I spent on all these fucking togas and you just put a towel over your shoulder.
It says something that the biggest star is the one who went the cheapest route.
Golly gee.
Also the one that had the shortest notice.
Well, there's that too.
Well,
Yes.
there was, not to get ahead of ourselves, but there was the two fans that actually looked like they ripped down the curtains from the hotel they were staying in.
Yes, there was.
To make togas.
I'm certain theft was on display there.
Yeah, we got someone here noting that Craig legit looks like Julius Caesar.
Yeah, I did my hair down.
Oh, really?
Wow.
Yeah, like,
So now that the secret's out, we're all here on camera. When we first started floating this idea, Craig was the one who protested most. Mm-hmm. And then about a week ago, he got his costume and shared it with us, and it is so perfect on him.
Yeah.
Like, he actually looks good. It doesn't look silly at all.
Bro, this toga is so comfortable. I mean, you may see me in this toga on a regular basis.
Yours
Is that right?
has an honest-to-God cape, and I'm so jealous.
Yeah. I'm not sure if we probably can. Well, you know what, Jared? First off, I think I'm out of focus, so we might want to hit that autofocus button. I've been told. I'm definitely out of focus. Let's there we go. Golly, looks like we have to do that every time now. But anyway, why don't you throw up those, do you have those pictures that I sent you from earlier? As everyone could see these costumes in all their glory. Hey, there we are, Vinny and I. Yeah, everyone thinks I'm short, but in fact, I'm as tall as Vinny here. In fact, taller in this photograph. And the next one here is, oh, there we go. I would go as far as to call that regal. Is that the right word? What would the word be in Rome?
Dignified?
Regalia? Whatever. Seems like we got a lion loose in Lance's house, coincidentally.
yeah.
Is that a puma?
Lance brought the jungle beast.
Jiminy Christmas, look at this guy. He's going right after you because you're nude.
He's scratching the
He's
shit
like,
out
is
of
that a bone? I'm going to chew on that thing.
Brian also did a shot, everyone.
Actually, I haven't. It's right here. I haven't even started drinking yet.
Oh, no.
Oh, yes. I'm not doing a full shot because it'll kill me. But I got it. And I'm ready. What else do you have, Vinny?
Well, I brought a little snack here.
You brought a snack, you
That'd be
say.
appropriate for the shindig here to a bunch of grapes.
You brought grapes? What kind of grapes?
Black grapes, as we discussed, my favorite. Was hoping Bridget would come along to either feed me these grapes or wave me with one of those big fans, but when I suggested this, she was surprisingly negative.
What?
Didn't
Why?
like that idea one bit.
Why? Oh, my God, Vinny, please. Holy smokes. Do I have to wake up Hanalei?
She like grapes?
Well, the problem is she'd eat all the grapes.
A lot of grapes. If your
Yeah.
baby can eat those grapes, that's a grape-eating baby.
Well, bro, she'll eat anything. The problem is now she eats filet mignon, and so she's spoiled rotten.
You idiot. Why did you feed your baby filet mignon?
Well, because I cook it, and she goes, yay, steak! And then I have to feed it to her, because she
That's why
wants to eat it.
You have a little small bite of hamburger that you make just for her.
Oh, dude, she's already well beyond that. I mean, you try to feed her like flank steak, she's like, this is shit. I want the real deal. But anyway, should I take this shot since we're about to talk about WrestleMania 9?
Please.
All right. It's absinthe.
I'll take a shot to watch it.
Green. Yeah, I should have taken this before I watched the fucking show.
Had an Irish coffee. There's a shot of whiskey in there.
Make sure you take that outfit to Hawaii and get video of you running down the beach in it.
Oh, bro, this thing's going everywhere with me. It's awesome. All right, here we go. I couldn't take a big one.
Excuse me.
I mean, I might be able to now. Should we get going?
Yes, immediately before this goes anywhere else.
All right, WrestleMania 9. We watched WrestleMania 9,
We
everybody.
watched WWF WrestleMania 9. It sucked. April 4th, 1993.
Was this the worst WrestleMania ever?
For a long time it was.
In my books, it is. To my memory, this is the worst one.
I think the one in New York that I didn't go to and never watched, a lot of people, it was also like
That was up there.
18 hours long. This was at least less than 3 hours.
Dude, the show was really bad, but I mean, I can't only say negative things about it. So, I mean, there
Actually,
is
the
that.
PC Mania might be worse because that was just...
Oh, yeah, that one. That one was so
atmosphere was
bad, we're
just
going to pretend it never
rotten.
happened.
Yeah.
Oh, look who's here. Vinny, hand her them grapes.
You got somebody who wants grapes?
Oh, this is why I have the greatest wife in all of this empire. She's going to give me a couple of grapes, not too many. I'm on a low-carb diet.
Like all Romans. Have you ever eaten a grape before? It's not
I've never been
alive.
fed a grape. Thank you, love. I appreciate it. I'll take one more. No, I won't. Oh, God, she's really... Hey!
Or more.
Knock it off! Hey, we're not having a food fight in here. God damn it. Grapes all over the floor. She got her last laugh. She got her revenge.
She was a good sport.
Yeah, I'm going to put him in the shot glass. Maybe if I leave it there, the Christmas show will be wine.
I'm sure that's how it works.
Yeah. Isn't that how it works?
That's all there is to it. There's no...
But if I squish it, will it become wine? No?
Eventually.
I think you need a barrel, don't you? I don't
No,
think.
just step on it.
I don't think they leave it out. I'm pretty sure it's preserved somehow.
I'm not sure it is. I think you just step on him and then put him in a jar.
Yeah, put a lid on it. You can put a lid on the shot glass.
I could turn the shot glass over. But then I guess by... All right, let's get going here.
How are you?
Andy's good at math, people.
Bro, there's no way the Broga Party's going to be better in this show. It's impossible. Although they may be significantly more impaired than I am right now.
See,
That I gotta...
I don't know. I don't know if they'll have a better show, but I do confidently feel they will have a better party. If you're invited to a yoga party with us four dorks or Randy Orton and Matt Riddle, go with Orton and Riddle. But you're here with us, so let's do it. Do the best we can.
Yeah.
Gorilla Monsoon is there in a toga. He introduces the debuting Jim Ross in a toga, who literally in his first paragraph mentions he is from Oklahoma and Tulsa. And I don't know if that was him wanting to remind everyone that he's from Oklahoma, goddammit, or if they had this new announcer.
Well, no, his point was, we don't wear shit like this in Oklahoma.
But he mentioned it over and over and over.
Oh,
again.
I know.
I know he always does and always has,
Proud
but
and all, but I mean, they don't wear togas in Oklahoma, Vinny.
I bet they don't do it very often.
I haven't seen me around here either, now that I think about it.
Oh, you're on
been
the
a-
wrong side of town.
Been a while. Been a while since I've seen a toga clad person. I've seen kilts. Kilts once in a while I've seen. So Ross plugs the Bret Yoko main event, and of course Money Incorporated versus the Mega Maniacs. And then we have the opening ceremonies.
Oh, God.
Better or worse than ours? Let's be honest.
They had
They had an elephant.
They did have animals.
Elephant-
Although we did too. We had a dog eating
Elephant
Lance.
greater than dog.
Yeah, I
Now
guess.
they had Bobby Heenan. Case closed.
I mean,
I'll get to Heenan.
yeah,
Jim
Bobby
Ross,
Heenan.
Jim Ross's first call in WWF, and he's calling an elephant,
Yeah.
putting over
It was
the
all uphill from
pachyderm.
there until they fired him
Yeah.
multiple times.
So Vince went out. It's Vegas, of course. You got a bunch of bodybuilders to escort Caesar and Cleopatra down to the ring and their elephant. And the elephant is, in fact, carrying Cleopatra in its trunk. And Jim Ross has given us the history / zoology lesson. This huge pachyderm, certainly influential in the Roman Empire. He's going over all the history. There were 7 Cleopatras. The 7th one is the most famous. So they come out and declare it's WrestleMania. Macho Man, as promised, is carried out by the Vestal Virgins. He's carried out by the bodybuilders. There's virgins all over the place.
He got out of wearing a toga. I love him.
He's Macho Man. And
He should have had like a macho toga.
sequined.
Like multicolored and like shit hanging off of it and the whole 9 yards.
Fringe.
That would have been awesome.
Yeah. So Bobby Heenan comes out last on a camel, facing the wrong way, complaining the entire time down to ringside. And
I just knew he was taking a bump. And he did.
Of course he did.
He did. He was
Because
the
he's
best.
the best. So this whole thing, it was very World Wrestling Federation, but even more, it was very, very, very 1990s Las Vegas. And they were trying to be family friendly and have a big spectacle, but they were coming out of the mob image and trying to be Disneyland in the desert, and then that didn't work, and so they leaned hard the other way after the next century. But yeah, it was cheesy and it was terrible, but I also loved it. Like the WrestleMania video, actually. It was terrible, but I loved it.
Yeah, I wasn't hating the show early because I'm a mark for doing these events in weird locations. And fuck, they were at Caesar's Palace, and it was the world's biggest toga party. There's fucking pachyderms there. So I was watching the first few minutes of the show thinking, show's going to have to be pretty fucking bad for me to give it a thumbs down.
There was...
Boy, did they ever overachieve.
They found 2 people in the audience with togas the entire
Yeah.
night. It was not the world's biggest. We have more togas at our party.
Yeah, percentage-wise,
WrestleMania.
we have way more togas at this party than that fucking party.
As promised by Mean Gene, the cameramen were actually in togas.
They were. It's true. That's true. Our opener for the Intercontinental title, Shawn Michaels versus Tatanka.
You know what's funny is I have not watched WrestleMania 9 since WrestleMania 9, which by my math was 29 fucking years ago. And I remember, I don't remember this match move for move, but I do remember that this match was fucking boring. Mm-hmm. And here I am 29 years later, and it was literally exactly what I remembered. It was fucking boring. Like, everything Shawn does is great. Like, the way that he moves, how smooth he is, the ideas he has for spots. He had some spot where he came off the top and got arm dragged out of midair by Tatanka.
It was actually awesome.
Yeah.
Why has no one stolen that?
But, the first part of this match was really good, and then the last part of this match was really good. But the middle part of this match, which was the majority of this match, was the most boring fucking nothing happening bullshit match I ever saw. I was fucking bored out of my mind watching these two guys.
Wow.
And am I wrong?
No.
Was it not
You're
hideously
a little
boring?
harsh. It was a good house show match.
Sure, but we're on fucking
Lots of arm
WrestleMania.
bars.
It was a good 7-minute match dragged out over 12 plus minutes.
Oh, it was way more than 12.
But it was also quite possibly the third best match on this show.
Well,
Sure.
I mean, that's low praise, but
Something had to
you're
be.
not wrong.
So, Shawn's accompanied by Luna Vachon in her debut.
This match was 18 minutes.
Jesus Christ.
18 minutes.
Yeah, it was a good 6 or 7 minute match that went almost 3 times as long as it needed to then. Yeah.
The first 2 matches took up 1/3 of the show.
I did notice when this match was over, the show was a half hour old, but I thought that was just all due to the elephant. So, Sherry is out there, Luna's out there. So it was a little bit interesting because the match was like a transition between 1980s house show wrestling, but honestly, a lot of 1980s wrestling was like this: just grab an arm bar and hold it for 2 minutes. And it's transitioning to what became the cruiserweight style on Nitro, and even what, frankly, Lance and Jerry Lynn and some of those guys were doing in ECW in 4 or 5 years after this, because they would do a big, elaborate, complicated spot that always ended with Shawn looking dumb, and then Tatanka would grab a hold, and they'd just lie there. And lie there.
And it wasn't like in the old days where you'd grab a hold and then you'd go into a high spot, get cut off, grab a hold, go into a high spot. It was like lay in a hold, do nothing. Lay in a hold, do nothing. For literally, it was like 10 minutes, because probably 4 minutes early with Tatanka, and then 4 minutes at the end for the I can't even call them near falls. I was not impressed, and I'm a huge Shawn Michaels fan. But this was
was not his best match.
Low on the list of his WrestleMania performance.
This may have been the worst match at WrestleMania for Mr. WrestleMania.
Probably.
I would think so.
At least the finish sucked.
God.
Also, well, before we get there, it's very windy out here in the desert in Las Vegas, and the shadows on this ring were harsh. It's like they had never done an outdoor show before. There were no lights. It was strange. Like they were at Wembley the SummerSlam before this, so they knew what being outdoors was like. You had Jim Ross in the cringeworthy line of the day where he declares he's cheering for Tatanka because he is from Oklahoma, land of the red man.
That's not the worst one on the show either.
No. Hogan topped that later.
That's true. That's a good point. So this goes on for a long damn time. And finally, Shawn has an axe handle, which starts Tatanka's war dance. And Shawn takes this giant bump into a power slam at the top rope and a giant bump into the stairs. And then just grabs the ref and gets DQ'd.
Dude,
No, he doesn't.
That's not what they called it.
That's not what it was.
All right, correct me.
They announced it as a count-out.
Oh, that's right.
I have no idea why.
That's right.
He bumped the ref before he got to 10.
Yes.
And I was watching going, oh, Dusty finish, because they have to let the babyface hit his move.
Yep.
But they announced it as a count out, and I have no idea why.
Well, the answer, Lance, is because it's WrestleMania 9, a horribly shitty WrestleMania. And whether it was a DQ or a count out, I watched this 18-minute fucking opener at WrestleMania go to a DQ, and I was already done with this show. And the funny thing is, the second match was the Steiners and the Headshrinkers we're going to get to. And when that match was over, all I could think was, why didn't that open the show? If you're going to do a shitty DQ in Tatanka, because you don't want to beat Tatanka because he's undefeated, but he's obviously not going to be the Intercontinental Champion, fine, whatever. But, give me a good hot opener with a bunch of cool moves and good wrestling, a fucking Frankensteiner finish win for the babyface, open the show hot, and then you can do your shitty finish later in the show. Whose idea was it to open with an 18-minute match with a misread finish?
Well, they had to spread the shitty finishes out, Brian.
God.
There was a cool spot in the match. Actually, one led to the other. Sean ran the length of the apron and dove on Tatanka on the outside. Later on, he went to do it again, but Tatanka moved, and Sean somehow managed to headbutt the stairs out of midair. It was really cool looking, and I thought to myself, why has nobody stolen that for the heat?
So, yes, it was worth watching and learning from. It was interesting. It was not especially good. And then Luna beats up Sherry after the match, and Tatanka saves. Gene interviews the Steiners. It's their first WrestleMania. I think their only WrestleMania. They say it'll be one to be remembered. The Headshrinkers are unpredictable, but they're going to wrestle and make Julius Caesar proud. So this was not like the last match. Maybe they watched it and knew they couldn't do that again. This is actually... It was actually really weird because it started and ended like an All Japan tag. Just guys running in and out of the ring, beating each other, breaking up pins, and whatever. In the middle, there was a long heat segment like a U.S. tag team match.
Yeah, but the difference was this heat segment wasn't boring.
No.
Like with Tatanka and Shawn Michaels.
That's for sure, actually.
These guys, they did a bunch of great stuff at the beginning. They did a bunch of great stuff at the end. And even the heat, there was like a bunch of cool stuff that they did. And
like almost killing Scott Steiner to start it.
They went to do like the assisted hot shot. So it's supposed to get dropped neck first on the ropes, and whichever head shrinker it was would grab his head and snap it on the ropes. And what actually happened was they just tossed Scott Steiner all the way over the ropes to the floor head first.
Head first like a spear.
Yeah.
Oh, God, it looked horrible. The thing about this match that really struck me was, is that my daughter?
Or a cat, I'm not sure.
God, it's the daughter. The idea that if you're Samoan, you have a hard head.
Yes.
That's what I've heard. That's what wrestling has taught me over the years.
Here's the thing: it's fucking ridiculous and offensive in a lot of ways. But the problem, I shouldn't say it's the problem, but there's so many things you can do with it in a match if that's like the gimmick.
Sure.
So. It would be better if, you had a wrestler. Actually, who would have been great with it would be Beefcake. Because everybody knew that he got his face shattered, and they put it back together with titanium. So at least that's like, you could hit him with moves, but man, if you headbutt him, he's not going to sell it, and you're going to sell it.
They put Lex's elbow back together with metal, and that's a weapon.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. But because the Headshrinkers in WWE canon... they're Samoan, and so they have hard heads. There were actually a lot of really clever spots that they did with the hard head. Like, Scott would be coming back, and he'd be running wild, and then he'd headbutt the guy, and they'd look at him, and then they'd headbutt him, and he'd take a bump. And it was actually an awesome spot. It's just too bad it's WWE, and they have to make it a...
You don't have to be...
Although, to be fair, if any of the four of us headbutted a Samoan... I'm guessing we'd get the worst of it.
Well, we probably would, but
because they're tougher than we are.
Yeah.
They did the exact same spot with Iron Man and Thor in the Avengers, and it worked there. So you don't have to be Samoan for it to work. There was
Iron Man wears a suit, Vinny.
Yeah, and Thor doesn't, and Thor still won because the Norse also have very hard heads, apparently.
Thank you.
So I'm just telling you what I saw in the Marvel movies. Don't blame me. So there's that. So they did a double stroke. The Headshrinkers did.
They did.
Yes, I was not expecting that one. So on the whole, just a generally a fun tag team match. Of course, the Steiners ran wild, and there's Steiner lines and suplexes all over the place, and power slams. it was funny because Rick gets a hot tag and there's like 2 clotheslines and then does the double knocker spot and they no-sell and headbutt him and take him out. But that set up them going for a doomsday device on Rick, and from the Headshrinkers A's shoulders, he caught Headshrinker B and turned into a power slam. It was crazy.
Dude, it's a move that Jungle Boy does. In 2021 that a lot of people saw and they're like, oh my god, that's the coolest fucking move I ever saw. Well, we saw it 29 years ago.
But didn't Jungle Boy moonsault like the cross body? He didn't actually catch him and power slam the dude.
Yeah.
This was a little bit different, but it was similar.
Yeah. So eventually, as noted, Scott wins the Frankensteiner out of nowhere. I think he pinned Samu for those of you.
Yeah, this Frankensteiner, like he jumped he jumped a little bit early, and Fat Dude didn't grab his legs at all. He just does a flip. So literally, Scott just jumped in the air and came down on his shoulder and neck.
Yeah,
and but he's Scott Steiner. He's built like a
Steiner,
a Coliseum.
Yeah,
and he got the pin. And I thought this match, may have been the best match on the show. I really liked Bret Hart and Yokozuna.
I think Bret and Yoko was clearly the best.
But this was really good.
I think, for me, Bret and Yoko was too short to top this one.
All right.
And I think this one, too, because, again, I was a fan and then getting into the business and starting out here. It's like this felt like WWF stepping up to a newer generation of a faster-paced, more impactful work. Mm-hmm. That these Steiners were bringing a more Japanese WCW-style work rate to the thing. So this match meant a lot more to me watching it. And I remember tweeting when I watched it that it's like, I'm suspecting no one's jumping the rail in this one.
Little did you know what was to come next, Lance, as you speak of this newfangled, high-flying...
Now, one negative that was... it occurred to me in this match and lasted throughout the entire show. This announce team of Jim Ross, Bobby Heenan, and Randy Savage. You're talking about the whole being less than the sum of the parts. That's 3 very good announcers. They were terrible together. No 2 of them were on the same page. They're talking over each other constantly. They're trying to feed each other lines, but nobody could pick up on them. They're just pissed off at each other the entire time. They sucked.
My favorite part when it was in the other tag match, Randy was talking about them hanging from the rafters, and then he goes, oh, wait, there's no rafters here. And then he babbled on and on and on about it, but nobody came to save him.
Yeah. Gene interviews Doink about all the mean tricks he has played on kids, the meanest of which was when he tore his own arm off at the socket. They are still sticking with the storyline. It wasn't a fake arm. He tore his arm off. Doink guarantees that Crush will be seeing double vision. So it's Crush versus Doink.
Well, go ahead.
Well,
it sucked.
I mean, it sucked. It could have been much worse. Doink, you could tell.
Yes.
Doink idiot-proofed this because we were talking about how Shawn and the Steiners were wrestling was changing and moving toward faster and more impressive stuff. Doink said, "We're not going to try nothing." I don't think there's a spot in this match. There is hit me with a slam. Watch the clothesline. There is no A to B. There's no combos. There's nothing. It's just one thing at a time. Get through that one thing, then we'll worry about what comes next.
Yeah, don't forget the incessant chasing around the ring again and again.
Stall forever because Crush cannot screw up standing there and being big.
Crush would fit perfectly in NXT 2.0. He's big. He's got bright colors.
Yes.
And after his moves, he does the over-exaggerated, awkward fire up for like 5 seconds and then stands there. You tweeted or texted me that first, and then I watched this match, and Crush was doing nothing unless told to by Doink and maybe the ref. But he took no initiative in this match. 0. He did what he was told and nothing else.
Well, with all due respect, he sucked.
I think he was 6 years in here or something.
Yeah, he's been doing this for a while. So it's bad, but there's nothing like cringeworthy until the end when Crush decides, I am going to try a jumping reverse roundhouse kick.
Oh, is that what that was?
Why did he do this? It looked horrible. And there's no reason for Crush, of all people, to do it.
It was more like the Larry Zbyszko Zabat kick.
Yeah, except Larry wasn't trying to jump.
Right. The what?
Zabat. Was it Zabat kick?
Savat.
Savat, that's what I said.
You said Zabat.
That's what I said.
It's a Sabbath.
We're Italian.
Religious holiday, yes.
Actually, Pat Patterson always used to call it the Sabop kick.
The Sabop?
Sabop. When I worked with Kishi, he'd be, then Kish hit you with the Sabop. And Keisha and I would look at each other and go, okay. And we'd call it in the ring then. We'd be like, the Sabop, in honor of Pat Patterson.
Isn't that a Cyndi Lauper song?
It is. C-Bop.
I bop, a you bop. All right, so this is all more entertaining than this match. So eventually, Crush goes for the head crusher. It leads to the ref getting bumped.
Such a great finisher.
God.
I'm going to squeeze your head. I'm crushing your head. So Doink 2 appears.
Yeah, that's why he's Crush.
Yes, he likes to crush things.
Thank
To crush things like heads.
So Doink, we should add, when he was running from Crush throughout this match, would try to go into the ring, and Crush would always stop him. But they were at least foreshadowing there's something under this ring that Doink really wants. And what it was his clone. A second Doink appears, tears his arm off at the socket, smashes Crush over the head with it, and the first Doink just falls on top and pins him, and it sucked.
You know, I had a revelation during this match, believe it or not. Of all matches to have this revelation. And you know, I watched a lot of NXT 2.0, and we got that gangster guy, and
Tony D'Angelo,
the poker player,
Duke Hudson,
and Daddy's girl,
Tiffany
and
something.
You know,
Stratton.
there's some others as well. You know what I'm saying? But anyway, everyone goes, "Oh my God, it's like mid '90s WWE, all these stupid characters," and there were many stupid fucking gimmicks in the early '90s. But I was watching this match, and I could not help but notice that this Doink is fucking awesome.
Mm-hmm. Oh, that's true.
And his gimmick is he's a clown. He's a wrestling clown. Mm-hmm. But he was awesome. Then later we had the Undertaker, who is a big zombie managed by a guy called Paul Bearer. And he's one of the most famous and legendary Hall of Fame wrestlers of all time. And these two gimmicks are fucking dumb, okay? But they were awesome. Why? I don't know why I never thought about this before. We're fucking sitting here in togas, right?
Yes.
Okay. So let's say that whoever, some famous director's coming to town, the Coen brothers.
Okay.
And they're like, we're going to make a fucking movie about a bunch of idiots that are dressed in togas doing a radio show or whatever. So you know what would happen if they were going to do this movie? They would have what's called an audition. And they'd have 100 idiots show up, and they would read all the lines, and they would pare them down to 10 idiots. They'd bring those guys back. They'd have them read the lines. And they'd go through this whole fucking shebang before they decided on, like, the 3 guys out of 100 they were going to sign to do this movie. Right?
Sure.
Okay. So, what really hit me watching a fucking great clown wrestling is that I don't think that there's any such thing as a gimmick that is just inherently too shitty for professional wrestling.
Red Rooster.
You might be right there. But maybe there's someone, Lance, where if you auditioned 500 wrestlers, you could find somebody who could play a great cock. So my point is,
Where's my grapes?
all of these gimmicks, the issue is Vince just chose a guy, and he was like, you're going to be the Red Rooster. You're going to be Skinner. You're going to be Papa Shango. And, you know, some of them were okay at it. Most of them were fucking horrible because this guy didn't, you know, grow up wanting to be a fucking crocodile cutter. You know what I'm saying? So I think the key is you got to find the right guy for the gimmick. You don't just want to create a gimmick like, oh, creative, come up with some idea. Oh, you know, someone should be a computer programmer. Oh, give it to Sammy Callahan. He's going to be a hacker. I mean, you know, maybe he's hacked. But the point is, if you find the right guy, I think I think any gimmick, for the most part, maybe not the Red Rooster, but I think that most gimmicks could work if you had the right guy. Because fucking Doink was awesome.
Well, Matt Bourne was a great wrestler.
When it was Matt Bourne. But Matt Bourne also was like, I'm going to be the best fucking clown, the best evil clown I can possibly be. And he made that gimmick work. As soon as they got rid of Matt Bourne, that gimmick fucking sucked. And it's in every clown gimmick in America from that point forward has fucking sucked. So, anyway, I want to put over Matt Bourne for being just absolutely great. And Mark Calloway for being, like, no one else could do The Undertaker like that guy. He was
true.
1 in a million to be The Undertaker.
That is true. We see Todd Pettengill in the crowd, and as Brian noted on whatever our last show was, they are establishing the Japanese photographer gimmick, knowing that it will pay off at some point down the road.
In horrible racist stereotypes, but they are establishing them.
Well, that was the next part of this. Is
Sorry.
Oh no, you're right. Believe me, I don't want to talk about it. It's not comfortable. It's not fun. But they were every negative stereotype of a Japanese person, and it was 1993. There was a lot of them. They were all on display here. Razor Ramon versus Bob Backlund.
Why?
Razor Ramon, God bless, so much charisma, and I thought he was a pretty good worker. But bro,
He was awesome.
He sucked in this match. I don't know if it was necessarily his fault.
They had a sucky match.
They did the shittiest hip toss I ever saw in my whole entire life. Am I wrong? Did you guys see that hip toss?
He was trying to get as much height as he could, I think out of respect for Bob. But yes, he just dove straight up and then couldn't rotate anymore.
So bad. And then they had another spot immediately after that. I forget what it was.
I think Razor was expecting a Bvcl, so he's trying to get this big air, and Bob just like threw him, and yeah, that's what happened.
The point is, the match went a whopping 3 minutes and 45 seconds.
It didn't need to go longer.
And Bob hits move after move, none of which look good. And then finally he goes for something, and Razor Ramon small packages and out wrestles and pins Bob Backlund.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, the story here is that, Bob's going heel here pretty soon. So I think they just, had him beaten by a wrestling move to begin his, descent into madness.
There you go. Yeah.
But this was not good.
I suspect, too, that Scott Hall respected Bob Backlund.
Well,
and
sure.
He was pinning Bob Backlund, and he really tried hard to sell and take big bumps for Bob Backlund.
He did.
Except on a drop kick that Bob missed by, I don't know, 2.5
Oh, that's
feet.
right. Yeah, they do the hip toss, which looks horrible. And then Bob Backlund throws a drop kick. And nowadays, everyone's got the monitors. And the reason they have the monitors, even though they're ringside, is they are looking at what we're looking at. So I don't know if they didn't have monitors or what. But the shot that we saw, the angle was such that it looked like Bob threw this fucking great drop kick and hit him right in the face. But the announcers go, he missed him! What? And apparently he missed him. But to the viewers at home, it didn't look like he missed him at all. So then this match was totally off the rails. And thankfully they went home immediately.
It was just amazing when this was over to know, in hindsight, that Bob Backlund would go on after this to win a world title, and Scott Hall never did.
Yeah.
That's weird.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow, that's a footnote.
Gene interviews Money Incorporated. A bunch of Las Vegas references. They don't make bets they can't win. It's our city, the city of money, they say. And they can't beat a dog in his own backyard. And IRS promises to take Beefcake's mask off and beat him into oblivion. And this was the first time on the show they made reference to Hulk Hogan having some sort of accident the night before.
By the way, in my rant about Doink, did we even mention there was a second Doink?
At some point I did.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. Yeah, it was weird. They
And they
mentioned
go on for the whole rest of the show, whether it was an illusion or not.
They mentioned an accident, okay? But then later, Hogan did a promo, and he claimed that Money Inc. had hired someone to rough him up.
When IRS said it was an accident, he was being sarcastic.
I see, okay. I thought you said the
accident
announcers
Yes.
said it was an accident.
Yes. The accident was they paid somebody to beat up Hulk.
Okay, so if you guys don't know, Hulk Hogan shows up for this next match, and he's got a giant fucking black eye. I mean, it looks horrible. And Hogan's story is that he was out on the water,
Yes.
and there was a jet ski coming at him. And his claim is, I tried to go underwater to get out of the way, but I had a life jacket on, so I floated up and was hit by the jet ski. That's his story.
That's a worse story than the other story I've heard.
The other story, obviously, is that Liz and Randy had an argument, and Liz left and went to Hogan's house, Hogan and his then wife, and Randy Savage got wind of this and was very unhappy, and he punched Hulk Hogan in the eye, okay? So, everyone's got their side of the story. Nobody was there to know, except for Hogan, and Savage is now dead. So I mean, no one really knows what happened. But I mean, when you think about it, I mean,
The second story seems a lot more plausible.
well,
You get hit by a jet
I was gonna say,
ski,
you ever
and your
been hit
only
by
injury
a
is
fucking
a black
jet
eye.
ski? Yeah, it's like, I think a lot more damage would have occurred. Like, fucking Brutus Beefcake got hit by a lady's foot.
Yes.
And his face was shattered, legitimately shattered.
Wasn't-
And Hogan's claiming he got hit by a fucking jet ski, and he got a
Wasn't
black eye.
her foot in a water ski at the
Well,
time?
sure, but the point is, like, you know, it was a foot, and his face was shattered, and Hogan's claiming he got hit by a fucking jet ski and got a black eye. So anyway, I don't know what the truth is, but, I mean, most people seem to believe that the truth is that Randy Savage fucking decked him.
Well,
Which is really interesting to then watch Randy Savage call this match. And,
Yes, because throughout the show, when he talks about it, look at that! Look at Hogan's black eye! It must have been a real cheap shot. And I don't know what happened. I wasn't there, but I can tell you, when Randy Savage was talking about Hulk Hogan's black eye, there was glee in his voice.
well, you know.
All right, so they're doing this match. It's the Mega Maniacs versus Money Incorporated. I don't know.
It's rotten, Vinny. Just say it.
It has moments. 1993 lean Hulk Hogan, slim Hulk Hogan actually looks better.
Oh, dude, he looked great. And you see him nowadays, and he's all beat up and just ravaged. And
Yes.
he blames the leg drop and everything like that. And I'm just thinking, if you don't look like this your whole career, you'd probably be feeling a lot better right now.
Could be, yeah. So, Money Incorporated for like a year have been champions, and they would get counted out all the time. TV, house shows, I guess not pay-per-views, and didn't have that many, but... So here they try to get counted out, and mid-match, they add the stip that the title can change hands on a count-out. So they go running back there. Hogan gets put in a $1 million dream that may have been longer than Bob Backlund's entire match. We get a beefcake hot tag. Goes on for a long time.
Before that, the baby faces. Hogan is in Ted DiBiase's finish, the $1 million dream, and he's going to sleep. And the babyface Brutus Beefcake just runs in and puts Ted DiBiase in a sleeper to cheat and keep Hulk Hogan from losing this match.
Yes.
So they double down out of this double sleeper hold.
Yes.
The babyfaces are cheating.
And even before that, there was the back rakes and the eye pokes from Hogan that he did like all the time.
He always did, yeah.
I'm not sure I believe this guy's jet ski story after all of this cheating.
The illegal man putting a
reputable character.
The illegal man using a sleeper hold as IRS distracted the ref for about a minute and a half.
Yeah, and why was he distracting the ref? He's saying, "Ref, turn around! There's two fuckers in the ring right now. They're cheating."
Yes,
they're good guys and they're cheating.
Oh, it got worse afterwards.
Oh yeah.
So then Beefcake gets cut off, and they pull his mask off, and they're beating up his face.
The titanium face mask.
Yes.
It's got a titanium face mask to protect his titanium face.
Right.
That Hogan trained by smashing it with a steel attaché case.
That's right. I forgot about that.
But now these punches are just like, oh my God, he's going to die.
They should have made the mask out of magnets, and they couldn't have taken it off.
God damn. I don't know if titanium is magnetic, though.
Wouldn't need that stupid strap. It just right on there.
So there's a double clothesline. He gets a sleeper, and there's a ref bump, and Hogan gets a hot tag, and IRS tries to hit him with the death mask that Beefcake was wearing, but Hogan gets it, and he uses it as a weapon. So he pins one dude, and Beefcake pins the other, but the referee is still down. Jimmy Hart gets in the ring. He attempts to revive the referee briefly. It doesn't work. He goes to plan B, and there is a plan B because he pulls off his jacket, turns it inside out, and the inside has black and white stripes like an official shirt.
Sure.
They had a secret plan decades before Hunter and Sean.
They did. And he puts on the referee's jacket, Jimmy Hart does, and he counts both pins to award the team he manages the World Tag Team titles.
You know, it's funny, but like people make fun of the fans today, and if you go on Twitter, read my timeline, it's like, these are some dumb fuckers. But man, compared to these people at Mania 9, these people thought they won the tag titles. When Jimmy Hart put his inside-out jacket and counted the pin, they were like, yeah, we got new champs! Golly,
Babyfaces thought this was legal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So did anyone notice that when they sent a second referee down to lay down the law, on the entire refereeing roster, they had like 8 of them.
They sent Danny Davis.
It's Danny Davis, who 3 years ago, longer than that, 6 years ago at WrestleMania, was doing, he was wrestling, doing a heel ref gimmick working with Jimmy Hart.
Well, he was replacing a guy who fucked Hulk Hogan out of the world title with Andre the Giant.
That's true.
Yes.
God,
This whole thing's all fucked up.
All these
No
referees
wonder
are
Hogan
terrible at
was
their jobs.
cheating.
Yeah.
He didn't trust anyone.
Yes. So Danny Davis says, no, you can't hit dudes with a weapon. It's a DQ. Money Incorporated are still champions. And so Beefcake and Hogan now, after cheating the entire match and losing fair and square because they were cheating, these two 500-pound muscleheads between them, they go to beat up Danny Davis. But Jimmy Hart says, no, I'll handle this.
Beat up the referee who made a fair call.
And Jimmy Hart throws Danny Davis out of the ring. The dog hates this Hogan. Danny Davis going out of the ring was the best bump of the entire show.
Oh, yeah.
You know, I apparently you mentioned there were 2 doinks. Did you mention the referee's looking for the second doink under the ring?
I did
and
not.
Both of these idiots couldn't find doink.
I did not mention that part.
It's like, God, these fucking refs.
So, yeah, this was very stupid and not especially good. But if I'm being honest, it had by far the best reactions of anything on the show so far.
Well, you know, I don't want to do spoilers or anything like that, but Hulk Hogan wins the title in the main event, as we'll get to.
What?
And if you watch this show as a fan, you're so fucking sick of this guy already.
Oh, yeah. Oh, dude.
But the fans were not sick of this guy.
No.
They fucking loved Hulk Hogan. They loved him in this tag match. They loved him when he did an interview later, randomly and you know, without remorse, throwing out racist terms. And then they fucking love him when he comes out after Bret Hart's defeated. They fucking love him when he wins. It's a biggest pop of the night by about 10. It's just amazing to see the reactions, but just watching it and be like, God, look at this fucker. And, you know, everyone who was a hardcore fan back then thought the same thing. Look at this fucker walking out of here with this title. God, horrible. And he never did anything with it.
Well, I think they realized their mistake.
It's amazing.
And did you tell the people about the briefcase after the fact?
They steal.
Oh, yeah, they fucking stole money.
They steal Money Incorporated's briefcase. They open it. There's important paperwork in there, tax records and whatnot. They destroy those, and they find a big wad of cash.
That seems like something that could be like a federal offense.
It might be, actually.
Yeah.
Probably.
I don't think you're allowed to do that.
They find a big wad of cash, and they begin. Hulk Hogan grabs big fistfuls of cash and begins to thrust his pelvis for a while. Then he just flexes, and I actually thought he was going to leave and take the money. Eventually, he did at least pass it out to the people. So he was more Robin Hood than Bernie Madoff or whatever. But
Robin Hood was still a crook
he was.
Yeah, but he was a good crook.
till he steals your money.
Didn't say that. Yeah, the only one.
I'm saying that.
The only one that didn't get any money apparently was Natalie Cole because she was interviewed.
Natalie Cole was interviewed. She said she didn't get any of Money Incorporated's
I
money.
just like that we got 2 heels. And granted, one guy's gimmick is he's an IRS. He's a tax man, as they call him. Mm-hmm. But he brings a weapon, a Halliburton, to the ring. But he doesn't put bricks in it.
It's an attaché case. Brian.
There was one brick.
There's one
There was
brick
one
and then
brick
money,
and money.
and papers.
Oh, he's a practical man.
So it was what do they call it where you put a heavy thing on stuff? You know what I mean? Paperweight. Yeah, that's what it was. It's just a paperweight.
Oh,
Lance knew, Vinny.
I guess he did.
Yes.
I guess he did. Mean Gene interviews Mr. Perfect. So there's also a story, in addition to this thing about Hogan getting a mystery black eye sometime last night, there was some story about Lex Luger using his loaded elbow to cheap shot Bret Hart at a breakfast or something?
Yeah, they had some breakfast gimmick where he got laid out by
Lex Luger?
Luger.
So
Yeah,
all I
'cause he
know
Luger
is
Bret for a while.
at some point here, Mr. Perfect got confused between Lex and Narcissist, and so he called him the Lexorcist.
Which actually was a great name.
Way better.
I was like, you should have used that. The Lexorcist, Lex Luger.
I was looking at these 2 men, and I was trying to determine which one had the better tan. My God, these men were brown.
So Lex comes out with a narcissist gimmick, and it's Vegas. They got some showgirls out there in thongs carrying mirrors that shot pyro.
Yeah.
And the wind's blowing the sparks everywhere. Thankfully, none of the Aquanet caught
And
on fire.
ladies. My God, you should have heard these announcers, especially Heenan. It was bordering on, I got to shut this thing off. It's gross.
Yeah, the one on the left. Boy, howdy.
So
For the rest of them, Craig.
they're doing this
Wouldn't
match.
open the door for them. You guys got to wait outside.
That one was my type, I'm just saying.
So Lex Luger, let's review Lex. He had been a pro wrestler. He was a WCW World Champion. Decided he was tired of wrestling, so he drops the title, the WCW title, moves on. He's going to be a pro bodybuilder. He signs with the WBF. And the WBF goes out of business and say, we're making you a wrestler again. So he didn't want to do it. He's back in this ring basically against his will.
Well, I think to be fair, he was always going to be a WWF wrestler.
Okay.
But the gimmick was to get him before he was legally able to be a wrestler.
Let's see.
They hired him to be a bodybuilder.
Gotcha.
So he's all over their TV as a bodybuilder until he was legally able to wrestle, at which point, shockingly, he became a horrible wrestler.
Well, it's funny you mentioned that because I'm pretty sure that he took more bumps and more chops in this match than his entire reign as WCW World Champion.
Yeah, but dude, his bumps were horrible.
I think you're forgetting, Vinny. He actually got pretty good.
Okay.
The end of his WCW run.
All right.
Yeah.
He had a motorcycle
I stand
accident
corrected.
between then and now.
That's true.
And Luger's bumping and work rate really went downhill after the motorcycle accident.
He took these bumps where like he'd bend his legs so that he only fell from like a foot off the ground, and he'd still put his hands down.
Yeah.
I was like, my God.
There's a video of Eddie Guerrero training his backyard ring where he's down in a squat and just rolls to his back and rolls to his feet, and then takes a bump from a squat and rolls to his feet, and then does like a half squat and takes a bump. Luger got up to about the half squat level, and then it never got like a standing bump in there. So it's just kind of, they just do stuff ineffectually for a while. They just take turns hitting each other, and then the finish is Luger hits a backslide. He pulls Perfect shoulders down over his own, so Lex is face down and Perfect slides down. Perfect's feet are entangled in the ropes, I'm pretty sure, before his shoulders ever hit the mat, and Joey Morella has to pretend not to see it, and he drops down to count 3. And I thought about the Royal Rumble when the ref actually picked up Seth's arm and put it on the ropes. Like, at least, at least he saw it when it was in the ropes. This referee clearly saw 2 feet entangled in the ropes and just ignored it. I'm not honestly sure which is worse.
And to make it worse, they did several other attempts with feet on the rope in the match that the ref caught. And you also didn't mention that Perfect actually went to backslide Luger, and he hooked his toes in the ropes to stop Mr. Perfect from getting his backslide.
Yeah.
And then after blocking that, he countered, and when he backslide Perfect down, he just yanked him and threw his, he was mid-thighs, knees, calves, ankles, everything in the ropes. And somehow Joey Morella missed it.
Match was not very good.
No.
11 minutes.
I blame Luger.
Well, when you have a bad match with Mr. Perfect, I mean.
Right.
Yeah.
But
It was
Mr.
weird,
Perfect
too,
also
'cause
was not all that great in this match either.
Perfect was a baby face, and it's like you lose a lot of his
Yes.
bumping and selling that made him such a great heel.
Yeah. So Lex afterwards hits him with the loaded middle elbow just to be a dick. And Perfect recovers. He goes to attack Lex backstage. Lex is just backstage chatting with Shawn Michaels, who is just hanging out with jeans tucked inside his cowboy boots.
As one does.
As one does. And so Perfect jumps Luger. Luger runs away. And I guess Shawn was so angry about his conversation being interrupted, he attacks Perfect from behind and lays him out. And with the classic WWF storyline where we have just built a challenger for the Intercontinental title by having him be beaten and be angry about it. The show blows.
Speaking of which,
So Randy Savage, it's actually Heenan and Ross. We get a segment where the camera cuts to the announce desk to show Randy Savage and Bobby Heenan just screaming at each other, enraged. They just hate each other by now. They can't wait for the show to be over. Then Heenan and Ross are screaming at each other. So the match is Giant Gonzalez versus Undertaker.
I got a fun fact for you.
Okay.
Allegedly, Giant Gonzalez is the stepfather of Raquel Gonzalez.
Well, hey then.
I just learned that fact today. Yeah.
So I was right when I called her the Giant Gonzalez.
She is the Giant Gonzalez. You
So-
didn't like this match, Vinny?
Before we get into the match, I just want to say, Giant Gonzalez is making his entrance. And Giant Gonzalez has exactly one asset as a pro wrestler. He's really big and makes a strong visual impression, right?
Well, he's definitely big.
So he comes out, and he's huge, and he's shaved. By the way, he's in his nude bodysuit now.
He's shaved his pubes.
There's no doubt. We had a debate or a discussion about whether or not he was just naked. No, the bodysuit now has buttocks with like striations in his glutes.
Yes. He went from the 70s Bush to the
The Brazilian.
Perhaps he was in the pubic wars.
Oh, Brian. But he's there being giant, which is the only thing he can do. And neither Bobby Heenan nor Jim Ross makes any point about it because they're too busy screaming at each other until Randy Savage has to scream, "Shut up! Look at the giant!"
Can't believe everyone no-sold that joke. I waited the whole show to make a Punic Wars joke, and this was perfect!
I'm proud of you, Brian, for doing the research on that one.
Thank you.
All right, so there's this giant naked man in the ring. What were they thinking? They actually thought this was a good look?
Well, I don't know about that, but they did it.
Now, I do like when Taker came out, had a vulture with him. That was pretty cool. That was a good touch. So they had a match.
How many years did we see that vulture gimmick on WWE television?
They use that clip a lot.
Like 1,000 years? Hey, listen, am I wrong, everybody? Lance, let me ask you your opinion. Giant Gonzalez, did he suck that bad?
Yes.
Okay.
His selling was atrocious. I did a tour of Japan with him.
No.
I thought his selling was beyond atrocious, and I thought that his offense was also pretty atrocious.
If I would give him a letter grade, like his offense is like a D+.
Yes.
It's unsatisfactory, but it's not the worst I've ever seen.
But here's my point.
Yeah.
When I watched him actually do the match with The Undertaker, it struck me that he might know what he's supposed to do, but he just can't do it.
Sure.
You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Whereas I watch some guys that suck, and it's like, these guys don't know what the fuck they're doing. Like, they don't know when to do anything. They don't know, when to turn to the crowd. They don't know when to windmill their arms but not bump because they're giant. He looked like he at least knew what he was supposed to be doing, but he was like so fucking gigantic that he couldn't do it.
His selling was borderline comedic.
No, borderline. It was hysterical. His offense is a D+. His selling, hard F. And I don't mean like you get a 50% on a test, that's an F. But you're still much better than Giant Gonzalez at the selling. He's a 10 or 20% on his selling test.
All the people for me to defend on this show.
Giant Gonzalez?
Yeah.
I mean, it's not like he was. I've seen many matches worse than this.
Yeah.
I've seen thousands better, but I've seen many worse.
But this is probably the worst match you're ever going to see where they don't actually mess up anything.
Yes, that's a good way to put it.
That's kind of what
everything.
That's almost my point. Like, he didn't do anything wrong.
Right, he just did it badly.
This spot got fucked up, or this. Yeah, it's just like he couldn't physically do anything. But it's not like he didn't know what he was doing. He just was incapable of doing it well. Whereas
that, and I'm quite sure Taker tried to idiot-proof this.
Well, yeah.
And have him do nothing but throw punches or those forearms.
Well, if he idiot-proofed it, he wouldn't have him throw forearms or sell.
We wouldn't have him sell at all, yeah. But, so...
And then what a finish.
Giant sucks. Taker is awesome. Taker is unbelievably awesome, as we all know. So the finish is... At a random point, Taker starts to make his comeback, and he's selling, and Bearer holds up the urn, and Taker does the zombie sit-up, and Gonzalez is a good example of what Brian's talking about, because his job is to turn to Harvey Whippleman and shrug, like, why is he not staying down? Which on paper is a great idea, and it's what he does, but he may have never shrugged before. Just
very confident man.
Yes.
Never shrugged.
So... Whippleman passes Gonzalez the ether-soaked rag. Chloroform-soaked rag.
Somehow Randy Savage identifies the smell immediatody.
Yes.
We could all smell it.
Randy Savage knows what chloroform smells like, and then Bobby goes, yeah. Two of the three announcers know what chloroform smells like. Are you kidding me?
And then Savage, I didn't write the line down, but he had some line where he said, it was something to the effect of, trust me. That can kill a man. Do you remember that?
He definitely said this can kill a man. I missed the trust me part.
It was like he said it with such confidence. Like, believe me, that can kill somebody.
All right.
Well, he should have taken chloroform over to Hogan's house.
So...
I don't think he wanted to kill him.
So the Undertaker...
His eye out.
It is a disqualification. He's poisoned the man. So Giant's disqualified. And Taker's down in the ring, and he's, of course, unconscious. He can't move. So the EMTs come out, they just grab him by the wrist and drag him to the apron. And we need to kill some time to get the stretcher down there and get Taker backstage. So Fonzie, who, of course, is the ref of this match, the ref of all of Giant Gonzalez matches, I don't know how they got hooked up together, but somehow they were a package deal. And Fonzie was Giant's assistant, lackey, but also refed all his matches and worked with him. So Giant goes after Fonzie, and Fonzie is so awesome being ragdolled. He just goes limp like a dead fish and is tossed back and forth and herked into the corner. So Taker is taken, ironically, backstage. And the crowd is chanting for Hogan, and Giant Gonzalez is in the ring. He was very confident. He could play a confident Giant very well. Confused Giant, not as good. But then there is the dreaded bong. And
Dong.
Taker lurches out, and the Giant's beside himself. And the post-match is actually, honest to God, good. Because it's free clotheslines. The Taker blocks one punch, hits a big clothesline, and Giant wobbles. And Taker hits a second clothesline, and Giant wobbles and takes a step back. And finally, Taker hits the big flying somersault clothesline, and Giant takes a bump, we'll call it.
Delayed. Fucked up the timing.
It wasn't good, but like this is a reputation because it's Giant Gonzalez of being like a horrible match. It's bad. I don't honestly think it was the worst match on the show.
The match was bad, but like the whole package from beginning to the end of the post match, it was better than Luger and Mr. Perfect.
Yes.
Better than the Money Inc. match.
Crush.
Better than Razor and Backlund. And better than Doink and Crush.
Yes.
As far as like a wrestling match, if you want to see like, let's watch The Undertaker and Giant Gonzalez exchange holds. Horrible. But if you want to see simple match, David versus Goliath, Goliath chokes him out with a fucking rag, guy's dead, taken to the back, then he is resurrected like Jesus, comes back, runs wild on the guy, sends him packing, the place is going fucking crazy. I mean, it was a fun little package, is what it was.
Yeah, the crowd was totally into this match, as silly as the whole thing was and as horrible as the match was. They were hook, line, and sinker till the end.
The big thing that gets me, because this, I believe, is only Taker's third Mania, they probably hadn't even thought of doing a streak yet.
Yeah.
No.
Had they not went with the DQ and actually come up with something where Gonzalez picked up the win here, like the next 25 years of this company would have been in the shitter. Because the whole
had to get Giant Gonzalez over, yes.
The whole Taker streak at Mania that meant so much for so many years, and the big Brock finally breaking it, is like all that would have been down the toilet if they'd have just moved the decision even slightly on this.
And dude, Brock, I mean, he's one of the few guys that moves numbers, and one of the reasons for that is he's the guy that ended the streak. Like, if you look at how much Brock Lesnar has meant for WWE business, for those rare shows that he does and everything like that, I mean, that all stems from, I mean, obviously a lot of it was UFC as well, but for wrestling fans, ending The Undertaker's streak, I mean, that sent him to a new level for WWE fans. So they so easily could have done, Gonzalez beats him with ether, and then they take it, do everything exactly the same, but instead of a DQ, he just beats him with ether because the ref don't see it. They could have done all of that, and everything would have been different.
Gene interviews Hulk Hogan. There's a quick recap of how Yokozuna destroying Hacksaw Duggan and then destroying Bret Hart at the contract signing. I was surprised they didn't show him winning the Royal Rumble, which also seems like a big deal. Then Gene interviews Hulk. So Hulk notes that all the Hulkamaniacs are in Bret's corner. Talks about Money Incorporated trying to take him out last night. He repeats that he just left Bret Hart's locker room, and all the Hulkamaniacs are on Hulk's side. But at the same time, he notes, I looked into Bret's eye. I knew he was questioning Hulkamania's greatness. And so he is issuing a challenge to whoever wins the main event of WrestleMania. He wants a world title shot. I don't care who wins. You? And then he says the second worst racial slur he's ever used on camera. But it's about Yokozuna, who is not Japanese, but that's the term he used. We go to Todd Pettengill. He's been in the crowd interviewing celebrities, whoever they could find, and which apparently was Natalie Cole and whoever the hell else it was earlier.
The owner of Caesar's Palace.
Well, here's the owner of Caesar's Palace and the Japanese photographers. So there's no one else to interview. So he takes some kid out of the crowd and makes a joke about what giant ears he has. What a dick!
Horrible.
And then he interviews the annoying fans in the homemade togas who probably did steal these from the Westward Ho or something. And this sucked. All right, so it's Bret Hart versus Yokozuna.
You know, I was watching this show and I'm looking at the clock, and there's less than 20 minutes left, and in that time, we have to do the entrances, the announcement, the match, the post-match, the second match, and the show goes off the air, all in less than 20 minutes. And so, you know, I thought, man, they're going to rush this match. And in fact, they got 9 minutes for Yokozuna and Bret Hart, which was not nearly enough time. But this was a great 9-minute match, and it was it was incredibly well paced for a 9-minute match. Like it didn't feel rushed, even though it essentially was rushed because they were only getting 9 minutes for a main event.
Hart.
This fucking guy is so good, and you know who else is fucking great is Yokozuna. Like, if I ran a wrestling school and I had some large man or woman, bro, they're going to be watching Yokozuna. I mean, there's a lot of people like Vader and such, but he was so good, and he was so big, and he was agile, but, I mean, he didn't really do a lot, but he wasn't like Luger. Like, when he had to fucking take a bump, he would fucking take a bump.
Yep.
And he moved, like, when he had to sprint from, like, half of the ring to the corner, I mean, he'd fucking run. But he was great at being a big giant. And Bret in this match, like, all of the little things that he did, the way that he sold, I mean, even little things like when he got the salt in the eye and the way that he just sells the eyes and falls, he was just fucking fantastic. This match, I thought this was the best match on the show, even though it was 9 minutes. Just two professionals, 9-minute world title match, but it felt like a world championship match. I just thought it was great.
Till the finish.
Finish. But
said that a lot on this show.
The thing about Bret is, like, obviously he's an all-time great, but what I can't say Bret's one of those guys who has never, ever, ever had a bad match. I have seen bad Bret Hart matches. They're very rare, but they have happened. But I don't think I've ever seen a dumb Bret Hart match. He puts thought into everything. Everything happens for a reason, and he sits down and thinks, okay, if I was a 220-pound world champion who had to find a way to beat a 500-pound monster, what would I do? Well, I'd get him to charge me and run into my boot. I would get him to... I lure him near the ropes and tangle his foot in the apron and trip him in the ropes and catch him there so I could work him over. I would, once I get the advantage, I am coming off this middle rope over and over and over again to use my own body weight to try to knock him down, which worked a couple of times, once on accident. So everything made total sense. It's what would happen in a real situation if a David had to beat a Goliath and use his own size against him.
And to echo that, Vinny, he's the excellence of execution, and he wrestled a little more, I don't want to say sloppy, but a little more out of control, a little more desperate.
Yeah.
Like he was trying a bulldog from jumping from the top rope onto to Yoko, and it ended up just crashing.
Well, I think the spot was supposed to be Bret would jump on his back and put him in a sleeper.
Yes.
Yeah.
And Yoko just fell.
But also, too, I want to point out, just because, again, I've always been a big Bret Hart thing, in the Shawn Michaels match in the opener, he completely botched, because who was Shawn? Shawn was Tatanka. Tatanka fought him like crazy, trying to get on his shoulders.
Yes.
Because they had an electric chair spot, and it just got... Tatanka wouldn't let his legs go, and he ended up doing a shitty head scissor, and then went right back and did the electric chair spot immediately right afterwards, so you knew what was the screw-up. Bret being more the way I was taught, and again, I was taught by his family, sort of, so...
That's true.
But when he jumped on him for the sleeper and they fell down, he didn't just go back to the sleeper. He went somewhere else. Mm-hmm. And a total pro of just, okay, we don't go back to it, we move on, and he got where he needed to go.
Yeah.
Without just getting back in the turnbuckle to jump back up on the dude.
So they're fighting in the corner, and I honestly don't know if this is like a storyline accident or if it's Bret's latest crafty thing. But as Yoko is yanking Bret out of the corner, Bret yanks the turnbuckle pad off. And now the metal's exposed. Yoko sees this, tries to send Bret into it. Bret blocks it, throws Yoko into it, and then Bret goes right to the sharpshooter. And we talked about Bret's book and what we do and don't remember. I remember him talking about this part because he has to put the sharpshooter on these giant, giant legs. And it's hard. And he puts him in this hold, and he's ready for Fuji to throw the salt. He's looking at Fuji, and Fuji's just standing there. And Bret's legs are on fire, and his back is burning. He's screaming, "Go! Go!" And finally, Fuji throws the salt in his eyes. Bret goes, "Ah, my eyes!" And I forgot about this part.
You know, I know people make fun of Fuji and everything like that, but bro, you had one fucking job. One!
Yep.
He puts you in the fucking hole and you throw the... Like, were there 9 holds? There was one fucking hold.
Yes.
God.
So Bret's... I forgot that the finish is the salt. He doesn't do a big leg drop or the bonsai drop afterwards. Bret's on his back holding his eyes and crying, and Yoko pins him. And yes, I thought this match was clearly the best thing on the show.
You know what I thought was interesting, too, was he gets the salt in the eyes and he goes down, and Yoko doesn't hit a move. He doesn't hit a big leg drop. He doesn't hit... He just literally goes over and covers him. He was beaten by salt.
Yeah.
That was the finish of this match. I thought that was interesting.
That's exactly what Vinny said.
Yeah. But I thought it was interesting that they chose to do that as opposed to hitting a move.
Uranagi or...
Well, he always does that big leg drop.
Oh, the big leg drop would have
So I
worked?
thought he was going to drop like the big leg on him and pin him.
How about that super kick?
But
that
for
he threw?
whatever reason, they...
He threw a dope super kick?
Oh my gosh.
Yoko was awesome.
He was great. He doesn't get the credit he deserves for being one of the best big men wrestlers. And I'm not just saying that because I remember it from my childhood. I'm watching it again. He was fucking great.
Yeah.
I
think it's...
Go ahead,
ahead.
Lance.
Well, I just think it's a case of, like, he was awesome in this period and for a while, but the last we saw of him was when he got really, really, really big.
Yeah.
And wasn't as good, and people tend to remember that. But when he was more in the 400 to 500 pound range, he was incredible. And then when he got to the perhaps into the 6s, he started not being able to go quite as much.
No.
I did find it funny that Bobby was commenting on how he's not even breathing hard, and
He was gasping for air.
See, that's the thing. I don't honestly know if this match should have gone 12 minutes. I think 9 minutes for Yoko, knowing he had to do a post-match too.
Bro, if you're in there with Bret, he could have gone 15.
Yeah, that's true.
This would have been very well paced.
That's true.
And actually, the next year's WrestleMania, he wrestles twice. Because he
That's
has a
also
match
true.
with Luger and he has a match with Bret, and I think both matches are like 10, 12 minutes.
Yeah.
So he could do it.
So the ref counts 3. If he had counted a 4, then Hogan would have been in this ring about 3.5. He was ready to get in there and protest this decision about how there was salt in the eyes. And he's very upset. He's tending to Bret. He's trying to complain to the ref. And Fuji's had enough. And he challenges Hulk to face Yokozuna. Hulk says, "Not now. I'm tending to my good buddy Bret Hart." And Fuji says, "You coward, Hogan. We'll even put the world title on the line." And now Hogan's interested. He's intrigued. He's confused. He's looking at the fans as he always does. They all want him to go. These fans loved Hulk Hogan. No doubt about that. Fans in the building loved Hulk Hogan. And finally, Hogan looks at Bret. And Bret can't see, but he waves in the general direction of the ring. Hogan takes this as his blessing. And he gets in the ring. I never heard a bell ring. Did I miss that? Doesn't matter, I guess. They have to go to throw salt in Hogan's face immediately, but Hogan dodges, so Yokozuna eats the salt. Hogan hits the...
What a bump that guy took for that salt, too. Windmilling the arms,
Yes.
jumped up in the air, splatted on the mat. It was awesome.
And then Hogan hits the Axe Bomber, and it took another great bump from Yokozuna. And Hulk drops the big leg, and he wins, and he is world champion again. So...
And the place, as noted, just absolutely lost their
the
minds.
people who bought tickets to see WrestleMania were very, very, very happy about this.
You know what's funny, though, and we'll never know, but the other thing about the match that I loved is it was so well worked that even after a shitty fucking show, these fans have been sitting here for 2 hours and 25 minutes of shitty finishes, bad wrestling, and bullshit.
In the sun.
Yeah. And these two go out there, and they worked such a good match, and these fans were super in all these spots. Like, Bret would make a comeback, and they'd go fucking nuts, and then he'd get cut off, and they'd scream, and, like, Yoko, I think at one point he just hit, like, a tackle, and Bret took this giant bump, and everybody screamed. So, I mean, there's no guarantee that if Bret would have pinned Yokozuna, it wouldn't have gotten the same reaction or close that Hogan got. But what we do know is that when Hulk Hogan got this win, these people were very happy.
Yeah. As opposed to literally everyone I knew. All my friends who followed wrestling, all my family who followed wrestling. I worked at the grocery store, and there was a guy, I don't even know how it came up, but somehow he knew he was a fan and I was a fan, and we'd always talk about when he came in, and it was I was working the Saturday after this, and saw him, and I said, what do you think of the show? He said, I'm done.
Wow.
And I don't know if you ever watched it again. People, they hated the Crash TV aspect of it. That a surprise title match was a stupid idea. They hated how Bret came off, maybe Barry's too strong, but he lost. Yoko lost. Hogan's champion again. This is 1993. We're now into the second decade of Hulkamania. And a lot of people were tired of it. A lot of people were ready to move on, but none of those people, apparently, were Vince McMahon. And, gee, this sounds familiar.
Well, the other thing you have to think about is for people my age, I mean, up until 96, 97, I mean, I could have told you off the top of my head every single WWF champion there had ever been in order.
Yes.
But once 97, 98, 99, it's like fucking off the rails. And the way that they treat their titles and their champions for the last, 2 decades, I mean, I think that if you're a younger fan today, you don't get what the outrage is.
Yes.
But I mean, back then, that title they were making a big deal. It's the first time the title's ever changed hands twice on one show. Yeah, no shit. The guys would be champion for years on end. Now here we are. It's just like everybody loved Bret Hart as champion. He worked his way, like literally, he started out almost as a young lion, but just doing tag matches, just generic tag matches. Then he splits and Intercontinental title run, and finally he gets that world title, and he had great matches, and he was a great champion. Had the fucking winged eagle. And, Hogan just comes back after just being gone for a scandal, mind you. And after all that, his first big show back, Bret Hart gets beaten in 8 minutes. Just a salt in the eye bullshit finish. And then Hogan waltzes on in and takes that title. I mean, some people nowadays may not realize why that made people so mad, but it fucking made people furious. That's a show.
There you go. There's WrestleMania 9. Thumbs down.
I would agree that this was a thumbs down show. Lance?
Yep.
Craig?
Yes, thumbs down. It had some high points, but not enough.
Not enough. Well, that's it, everybody. Oh, now you're excited we're going to talk about Raw?
Who, me?
Yeah, you should have stayed awake and engaged in that segment, and we could have done that longer than talk about this stupid show. What a shitty show this was for the first half.
We watched WWF Raw, Season 1, Episode 11, April 5th, 1993. Do not watch. Strong thumbs down. Would not recommend.
What the hell's up with Bartlett?
He blew all his money in Vegas.
I know that part, but, is this the end of Bartlett? Does he come back after this?
Well, he's on the phone, so I assume...
Well, I know that, but is the storyline he never gets a ticket home and he's just in Vegas for the rest of time?
If they were going to do that, he just never would have come back from Vegas. They would have said he was lost in the desert or something.
Yeah, so, is he? Does he ever show up again? Somebody tell me if this is the end of Bartlett.
Why would they mention him if he wasn't showing up again?
Well, I mean, they've replaced him, right?
With nobody.
Isn't it going to be Vince, Heenan, and Savage going forward?
Well, here was Vince and Savage.
Yeah, but I think
so he wasn't replaced him. I don't know.
He's still around for a few more weeks, says Josiah.
This was the follow-up to WrestleMania 9. My goodness.
I'm 90% sure this was all taped before Mania.
I see.
Because you're talking about the Z-teamers on this show. So it's Vince and Macho opening the show by themselves. Tonight we have Virgil versus Bam Bam Bigelow. The Steiner brothers versus the Beverly brothers. And Jerry Lawler makes his in-ring debut. At the time, I was tickled that Randy Macho Man Savage, one of Jerry Lawler's hottest rivals from Memphis, was the one to introduce him here on Raw. Mm-hmm. And it turned out that was much more than just a what do you call it? A nod to the hardcore fan. It turned out to be a big thing by the end of the show. Relatively speaking, I suppose. Virgil versus Bam Bam Bigelow.
So it was the shittiest fucking match.
So when this began...
Hold on a second. Hold on. We gotta do the big picture, Vinny. They can talk about the moves. Dude. You remember that match you had with Stoney Edwards?
You do, clearly.
You remember it?
I do.
Okay. Remember how bad it was?
Rotten, but it was better than this.
It was fucking so much better than this, Vinny.
100 times better than this.
I don't think I ever saw you have a match that was even, twice as good as this match.
Think about this.
I think every match you had in your career was at least 4 times better than this match here.
I'm trying to think. If I ever had one that was for sure worse than this. There was one time when Big said was supposed to throw a clothesline and he forgot the spot, but I took a bump anyway. That
happens all the time.
may have been worse than this. It's the only one I can think of.
This match was so unbelievably bad. And even worse, it just kept going. I think that Virgil's not doing cameos right now because he's still working this match. It was a fucking atrocity. Somebody just asked me the other day, like, has there ever been a match on TV as bad as... I can't remember what match it was, but the answer is this one. This was fucking trash.
And Bam Bam Bigelow was in there.
Yes! It was all Virgil's fault, by the way.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
He was so unbelievably
Tell me more.
horrible in this match. Like, horrible.
Yeah. So, when it started, I thought to myself, I bet this is not as good as The Undertaker versus Bam Bam Bigelow for the March of WrestleMania. And by the end, I was certain it was not as good as The Undertaker versus Giant Gonzalez from WrestleMania.
That match was much better than this match.
Much better than this
Much better.
His drop kicks were horrible. His elbows were horrible. The crowd was telling him he sucks.
He did drop kicks and elbows?
He attempted.
He actually
I guess.
He actually did a top rope drop kick at one time.
But
Of
right-
course, he missed it before
He
it.
fell off.
Yeah, the first time he literally just fell off. He climbed to the top rope and just climbed to the top rope and just fell off onto Bam Bam. He did a baseball slide that may have been the one worse than the one Rob Van Dam did when he broke his leg. Even the announcer's like, God, he didn't slide very far on that. They're pushing the story. They are pushing the story that Lex Luger knocked out Bret Hart with a metal elbow, like on breakfast at WrestleMania day. There's no consequences for jeopardizing the WrestleMania main event.
That gave him an out to lose the title.
They're discussing Rob Bartlett. He is still stuck in Vegas. He lost everything. And Vince says, I heard he lost everything. And Savage says, oh, he lost $1.22. Savage was awesome on this show. If he makes it back next week, he's going to come via bus. This goes on for a long fucking time. I forgot how terrible this was and how long it was.
This was a 7-minute match.
Impossible.
No, it was 7 minutes.
No, it
and
wasn't.
It should have been like 2.
So
it was 30.
He fucks up the up and over in the corner where you do like the jump. You run in the corner and jump, and the guy runs under you. He fucks that up, and Bam Bam just swats him away, and he's had enough. He just stares at him in disgust. And he hits like a lariat, and the headbutt and wins. This was horrendous.
It's like, I think this had to be the worst match we've seen on any of these Raws so far. I can't think of one worse.
That Bushwhackers.
And we've seen a lot of Damien
Repo Man,
Demento.
Damien Demento.
That one was pretty fucking
That was
bad
pretty
too,
horrible.
actually. But I think this was worse.
It may have been.
I'd have to go back
I'm
and
not
check.
saying it's not.
Remember that one time Richie Magnet said, hey, whatever you're doing with your hands, stop that, Vinny?
I do, yes.
Yep. Yeah, Virgil did not get the memo.
Bro, hold on a second. Remember when Richie said, Vinny, whatever it is you're doing with your hand, never do it again?
Yes.
At least he was only talking about your hand.
Yes.
Whatever Virgil was doing with every part of his fucking body, never do it again.
No, these jabs that he was
Golly,
throwing were,
gee willikers, horrible.
these punches he was throwing were,
There were no punches in this
Horrendous.
match.
there were.
No, there weren't. He just flip-flopped his hands around. God, this was bad. I don't have the words. And the next match wasn't a whole lot better.
Well, before that, Jerry Lawler comes out for his Raw debut, but the crowd keeps chanting Burger King at him. He says, if you keep chanting Burger King, I will leave. And they do. And he does.
Love
Yeah.
this.
We go to Mean Gene to interview, and I have never used that word so loosely in my life. He is there to interview Mr. Fuji and Yokozuna. In the entire segment, Mr. Fuji says 0 words. Yoko says 1. I believe he shouted bonsai or something, but it was 1 word. So Gene explains that they filed a protest over the title match against Hulk Hogan. There was no contract signed. The match should never have been sanctioned. And Gene explains this on their behalf.
Bro,
and they
listen.
go away.
Dave has mentioned before, like, you know, great interview guys in the past where the guy will essentially, he'll say, he did the interview for so-and-so. But what he actually means is, like, he'll ask the guy a question, and the guy will give, like, a shitty answer, and then the interview guy will actually explain what the guy was trying to say.
Sure.
This wasn't even that. This was the fucking words are what this was. Gene did the promo for Mr. Fuji and Yokozuna. He did their promo. Gene cut the fucking promo for both of these guys. They didn't say a word. I couldn't even believe... I mean, I could. What's Fuji going to say anyway?
Right.
And all Yokozuna ever says is bonsai.
They played this off.
It was amazing.
They played it off like it was like a live interview, but it was obviously from the set of WrestleMania.
The set of WrestleMania 9.
Yeah.
Yes. I assume taped earlier in the day, but whatever.
Which is interesting, by the way. The storyline they're telling is that... I was thinking about this. So, Bret lost to Yoko, albeit underhanded tactics, I believe were Vince's exact words. And the underhanded nature, whatever. But anyway, then Hulk Hogan challenges and gets the title and wins and everything like that. And so the story is that the match was not officially sanctioned.
Correct.
And so Jack Tunney, this weekend, by the way, Jack's a busy guy. This weekend, Jack Tunney is going to rule as to whether or not this was a sanctioned match and whether Hulk is the champion or whether he needs to give that belt back to Yokozuna. And if you think about what actually happened in real life from here until the King of the Ring, they should have just ruled that Yokozuna gets his fucking belt back. That would have solved a lot of fucking problems.
Yeah.
Sure.
Well, we got Bob Backlund versus Kim Chi. Kim Chi, of course, has now been, after years as Kamala's trainer or handler or whatever you want to call it, is now a solo act. And he's pursuing a singles in-ring career.
I have no recollection of this.
Oh, how did you forget a match like Kim Chi versus Bob Backlund?
This is a second singles match he's actually had. He had one last week, too.
Well, that was against Kamala, though. That was to blow off the angle. That's fine. Now I'm just watching singles Kim Chi matches in 1993.
This match actually wasn't that bad. It was a next match, actually, that was also horrible.
This was a nothing match. This one was horrible. This is a pointless match.
It was very simple. Kim Chi did a couple of body
Why am I watching Bob Backlund sell for Kim Chi?
Because they needed to put in some time, Vinny.
Holy God.
Because you know this story, you know what this show was?
No.
I'll tell you what it was.
Terrible.
This was the show where Vince McMahon
Thank you.
had to explain to all the plebeians what happened at WrestleMania, what the stories are, where they're going next. And because you, the plebeians, are fucking dumb, you got to put boring-ass fucking matches in the ring so you don't pay attention to the matches. You just listen to Vince explain everything for 45 fucking minutes. That's all this show was.
You're not wrong.
He went over, like, what the fuck are these two matches? Virgil and Bam Bam Bigelow and Kim Chi versus Bob Backlund. 8,000 fucking chin locks. The most boring fucking matches, so you're not paying attention. You're listening to Vince tell you about Hogan and Bret and Yokozuna and Jack Tunney and all this other shit, and Vince is just explaining it to you like you're a fucking idiot because he presumes you are a fucking idiot, and therefore that's why there was nothing happening in these matches. And they were nothing happening matches.
So you're telling me that the wrestling on World Wrestling Entertainment is a backdrop for Vince McMahon's storytelling?
Yes,
Let me
absolutely.
write this down.
That's what it was. And then the finish. Kim Chi gets knocked on the ground. He's on his back.
Well, he goes trying a reverse monkey flip.
Yes.
Yeah.
So he's on his back and he's got his legs straight up in the air.
Sure.
Okay. So Bob Backlund walks up to him and he grabs his feet and he pulls them down. So, it's in the...
He's on his back.
I was going to say something I decided not to say.
His legs are up in the air, pointed up over his head.
Yes.
And toes are on the ground.
So Bob looks down at this man's crotch.
Okay.
And he dramatically steps one foot over. And then he dramatically steps the other foot over. And then he slowly goes back. It was the slowest fucking...
I was not impressed with Bob Backlund's amateur skills here.
But fuck, he did it, and he pins the guy, because this guy sucks.
Did have a good neck bridge.
And Randy Savage was so fucking impressed with this move. He marked out...
Well, I think he made the same joke towards where you were going. His exact line, because Bob pins him in a suggestive manner, And Randy Savage screams, "The joy of wrestling," page 89.
Yes. What a fucking old school reference that was. Golly. It pinned him.
So let's see. So while I was watching Bob Backlund sell for kimchi, as noted,
This is disgusting.
I will never get over this.
Well, I gotta stop for just 1 second. This is absolutely disgusting. But, like, the idea that Randy Savage in the early 70s thumbing through them pages of the joy of sex. Looking at page 74. How the fuck did I get his legs in that position?
Dude, I'm sure they all were.
God.
It was the 70s.
The world's better now, everyone. It was pretty shitty back
You
then.
can look at this stuff on the phone and not tell anybody. So we're 11 episodes into the show now.
That's it?
The tagline
God.
is very simple. Uncooked, uncut, and uncensored, right?
Yeah.
Savage at one point screams, "The show is uncooked!" And Vince says, "It's uncut!" There's a pause, and Savage says, on something else, yeah!
He's actually got it written on his
Fucking
T-shirt.
uncut. Fucking non-circumcised edition of Raw.
Vince suggests
God.
Bartlett. So it was during this match where I
The
realized...
show is still funny.
Yeah.
That's a key. That is an important key.
Yeah.
And actually, we will get to that in the next match. But I realized during this match that when this show was over, we were going to have cumulative negative star rating. And I believe that's still true. The average match in the show was worse than dud. This was a dud.
But you know what? I do have to say that, like, this show was horrible and the wrestling was awful, especially the first half. But I did enjoy watching the show, mostly because of the commentary. Because Savage is good. He's got some funny lines here and there, and Vince is just out of his fucking mind, and he's, like, into it. So I didn't mind it so much.
Did you mind it, Brian, when Damien Demento
Oh, I minded this match.
came out to wrestle, of all people?
Yeah.
Like, what's the opposite of a dream match? Damien Demento versus Jumpin' Jim Brunzell
Yes.
in 1993.
You know, see, there were a lot of
My
storylines.
jaw.
There were a lot of stories Vince needed to tell, and he didn't want you distracted by this wrestling.
Well, I was distracted then by Rob Bartlett calling in from, I guess, a bus station in Las Vegas, begging Vince.
He was calling from the Motel 6, which Savage goes, yeah, more like Hotel 2.5. That's what he said.
Who knew Macho Man could do dad jokes? So Rob starts to beg Vince. I got my paycheck and blew it all the tables, Vince. I need some money.
Actually, the first thing he goes is, I tried to cash your check, but it bounced. And Vince goes, "It did?" As if he deliberately sent him a bad check. Yeah. And then Bartlett ruins his own joke by going, "No, I just spent it all."
Yeah, he blew all the tables. So
And Vince was just a commentator. He wasn't actually the owner right now, right?
Well, he could have been in charge of payroll and storyline.
I see.
Yeah.
So he begins to beg Vince for more money. Vince claims a bad connection. As the phone call continues, where there's no bad connection, Vince says, "Oh, it's getting worse and worse." So Rob is explaining how he went broke. He says, "I got a system for blackjack. I double down on 6." Now, Rob's performance as Vince in that one show was his funniest show, but that right there may have been his funniest line, if you know anything about blackjack. As this is going on, I feel the need to remind the listeners, we're watching Jumping Jim Brunzell
No, we weren't.
fight Damien Demento.
We were not watching this match.
Oh, I was
Jimmy.
watching.
No.
As they began to battle over arm ringers, this is not Cody Chun and Jonathan Gresham. It's Jim Brunzell and Damien Demento. And this show is so horrible, I just started uncontrollably giggling. Like a small child, I was beside myself, snickering and pointing at the screen. Arm ringers. It's Jim Brunzell. It's the Marty Jannetty of the Killer Bees and the Marty Jannetty of the High Flyers. I'm watching him on Raw in 1993, exchanging holds with Damien Demento. The whole thing's so absurdly awful. All I can do is laugh. But it goes to your point. I would watch this episode of Monday Night Raw 5 times in a row before a new episode of NXT 2.0. That show makes me angry and sad. This show made me laugh.
Maybe we need Vince on commentary for NXT 2.0.
This is just bad wrestling matches.
Well, the match wasn't even bad. I mean, it was.
Oh, it wasn't good. It was better than Virgil.
Yeah, it was just a horribly boring match. And then all of a sudden, Damien Demento just leaps in the air and hits the most generic lame knee and then pins him. I was like, that's your finish, Damien Demento?
I had to go back and check.
Okay, I actually got something out of this match. Demento actually adjusts his knee pad like he's loading it.
Yes.
Before he drops the knee.
Yes.
So he's a demented guy that's... whatever.
He's still a cheater. Yes.
Yeah.
Bad.
It came so out of nowhere. I had to go back and see what happened.
Yeah, I was confused.
Because Jim Brunzell hit his dropkick, and God bless the guy, as the Iron Sheik noted, he's a great athlete, a great high jumper. But his dropkick was one of the best in the world.
That's why he's jumping.
And it was, in 1993, it had been surpassed. I'm sure in the 1950s, there was a guy with a two-handed set shot that was the best shooter in the world, but now we have Steph Curry. So we don't have to watch that guy anymore. Anyway, this sucked. Rob Bartlett's back on the phone begging Vince for money, and Vince is mock crying about what a sad story this is. Jerry Lawler comes out. The crowd chants Burger King. Jerry Lawler leaves again.
It's awesome.
It is awesome.
Mania highlights for a while. We had the Steiner brothers and the Beverly brothers. It was fine. Just a fine match.
I thought this match was all right.
The highlight was
Braun Breaker Sr. and...
Uncle De Braun.
What the hell's that other guy's name? I always forget with the forehead.
Von Wagner.
Von Wagner Sr.
That's
against
true.
Braun Breaker Sr.
That's true, yes.
It's NXT 2.0. It's NXT 1.0.
So
Or
Savage...
whatever's below that.
Scott Steiner does a butterfly suplex, and Savage is, a different version of a suplex. It was Macho Man playing Gordon Soley. They screwed up the tagline again. Uncensored, uncooked, and, unreliable.
I hope that's what he said.
It's exactly what he said.
The show is very unreliable.
That's exactly what he said. That's a quote.
Wow.
So, match is there. Ricky gets a hot tag that was very good. He's Steiner landing
You've just been broken, Vinny. This is actually a pretty good match.
Right.
The only thing I will say about it
Rick's
is...
hot tag was awesome.
Yeah, Rick does hot tags. Scott tags back in. He does da-da-da-da because he's going to do the Frankensteiner. And this is probably going to upset some people, but it's true. Braun Breaker already has a way better Frankensteiner than Scott Steiner. Because Scott's Frankensteiner these days is he fucking leaps in the air. He barely gets him with his ankles.
Yes.
He falls on his own fucking shoulder, and the other guy has to do a forward roll. So I don't know why the timing has been fucked up the last 2 weeks, but people still go nuts for the move.
I think if we went back and watched 1990 Scott Steiner or 89 Scott Steiner, probably looked a lot better, but then he started to get way, way bigger.
He is pretty big.
Because one of the Wrestling Gift Twitter accounts put up his Frankensteiner in slow motion in WCW, and even then, maybe not after this, but point is, he doesn't really jump high enough to do the Frankenstein, because you do the Frankenstein, you're supposed to be up on the guy's shoulders. And Scott didn't jump that high, but he jumped and was so flexible, he still got his feet up in the air so the guy could grab them and roll through. But yes, Braun Breaker's Frankensteiner is better than Scott's.
Dude, the first time I ever saw the Frankensteiner was 92, 93, and they would have been,
This is 93.
I guess they would have been back in WCW. When did they go back to WCW?
Not long after this.
I definitely saw it on an NWA show.
Yeah.
And I know that it was around 93 because we'd show some of the old YWF videos during the Observer Live on the Twitch channel. And I do a Frankensteiner on Jeff Perigo at the gymnastics facility because I probably just seen the Steiners do it, and I probably rewound it and put it in slow motion about 600,000 times trying to figure out how the fuck he did it. And we pulled it off. And of course, right when I did it, the lady walks right in front of the camera.
Perfect. Was it her?
No, it was the owner.
Huh.
I was so fucking mad because not only does she walk in front of it, but she walks in front of it, in front of the camera, and she sees the move. So she walks and she goes, ah! And she stops right in front of it, and then she keeps walking. So you totally can't see any of the move.
Oh, fantastic.
I forgot about that till they put it back on there, and all of a sudden I remembered it, and my fury from 1993 just came flooding back. I never, oh my God, I that pissed me off for years.
Apparently.
Because he actually took a great bump. Jeff Perigo. He didn't know what he was doing. But he did it.
Main event. They've been teasing us with the entire program. Jerry the King Lawler versus Jim Powers.
Finally, a professional wrestling match.
Mm-hmm. It was the most professional wrestling match. Well, the Steiners and Beverlys was fine.
Yeah, they were good.
The last two matches were not terrible. It's funny because Lawler comes out and does a Jerry Lawler heel match. He's getting his ass kicked for like 5 minutes.
He's doing an old school territorial match.
Yes.
In New York
Yeah.
on national television.
And he's doing this, and it's take a punch, fall out of the ring, stall for 2 minutes. Take a punch, fall out of the ring, stall for 2 minutes. And Vince, this was Jerry Lawler's in-ring WWF debut, we were told. And it would not surprise me one bit if it was the first time Vince McMahon ever watched a Jerry Lawler match. And Vince is going off about this guy. He says, this is allegedly one of the great wrestlers of our time. And he did not sound like he believed that one bit. So Lawler's calling Macho Man out the entire match. It's not even subtle. And finally he hits a punch and press for a power driver and says, this is for you, Macho Man. And he power drives the guy and he pins him. And then afterwards, the commercial break, and then he goes to confront Savage at the desk and says, you don't have the guts to get in the ring with the real king. And the show goes off the air before we saw what happened next.
Hey, at least they built up something for next week.
It was not the worst.
Or at some point down the road.
It was not the worst wrestling show I ever saw, but that first 30 minutes.
The first 30 minutes was one of the worst wrestling shows ever.
God.
Yeah.
So my wife pointed this out as she was watching with me. She said, Jerry took the time to shave his armpits.
But not his chest.
But not his shoulders.
Or shoulders.
Shaved his back, his pits, and that's it.
If I was going to be put in a headlock, that's the part I'd want a guy to shave.
Well, yeah, that's
Fair.
always been my request. I hated
Fair.
sweaty hair on my face from a man's armpit. Gross.
Yes, but his chest was massive.
I guess your head is on their chest, because Nick
Yes,
used to
it
oil
is.
his chest. That was so disgusting. Our buddy Nick would never shave his chest, but he would put baby oil all over him.
Yeah.
Right.
That's the most disgusting thing, like, ever. Like, oh, my God. I mean, put your head on a hairy man's chest, whatever. You know, put your face up against a shaved, oiled man, But, man, an oily, hairy man? Now we got a problem.
No buys.
Oh, God. Disgusting.
Well, there you go, everyone. Raw 11, thumbs down.
Yes.
Thumbs up for Jerry Lawler.
You know, we only have 1,744 left to watch after the show. Jesus.
Well, with this rate, it'll take us 30 years.
Yes. Well, I mean, it's been 30 years, Vinny.
Right. That was a joke, yeah.
Okay, Bartlett.
Well, today we sat around and we watched WWF Monday Night Raw, Season 1, Episode 12, April 12th, 1993.
With Rodney. We tried to get Rodney over here to recap the show, but he's over there hiding.
Have we ever auctioned off for, like, Whale Scout or something? I know we auctioned
It's like this show is made of water.
I know we have auctioned off appearances on the Brian and Vinny Show. Have we ever auctioned off a chance
An appearance
to
by
just-
Rodney?
Not an appearance, just a chance to watch the shows with us.
If I could raise
You don't have to do the
$1,000
show.
for Whale Scout, I bet Rodney'd do the show. Oh, he's shaking his head. What about them whales? They're dying. All right, let's get going.
This show sucked, everyone.
That was a bad show.
The first thing
But
is,
Bartlett's back.
for the time being,
Yeah, but this may be it.
we'll get to that. We open with a segment with Money Incorporated backstage with the Beverly Brothers, and Money Incorporated will soon have to defend their titles against the Steiners. And the Beverlys have wrestled the Steiners many, many times. And so the Money Incorporated is bribing the Beverly Brothers for tips on how to defeat the Steiner brothers. Here are their tips, which I am not making up. Their suplexes are devastating.
Check.
You've got to take their legs out.
What?
They're very quick.
Okay.
They're very strong.
Check.
They've got a great finisher. You've got to watch out for that Frankensteiner.
Well, you do have to watch out for that Frankensteiner.
I hope Money Incorporated didn't pay a ton of money for these tips. I could have given them the same tips at age 17.
Bro,
or
you ever been to a
whatever.
jiu-jitsu fucking tournament?
A lot of the same things?
Oh my God, these guys are screaming from the sidelines. Triangle! It's like, no shit, put a triangle on the guy. This guy's a fucking brown belt, and he needs you to tell him that he should be doing a triangle right now? Such a fucking waste of time. Then a guy goes for a guillotine, the guy goes, watch out for the guillotine! It's like, no shit.
You have just been guillotined.
God.
So Vince, Macho Man, and yes, Rob Bartlett opened the show.
He got back from Vegas.
He got back in Vegas somehow.
He should have still been in a toga. He basically was by the end of the show.
That's true. The card for tonight's show, which sounds more like a warning than an advertisement, Scott Steiner versus IRS. Fine. Rob Bartlett interviews Luna Vachon.
Yeah.
Papa Shango will wrestle.
Yeah. Didn't bother mentioning it.
And I actually thought the Papa Shango and the next name were facing each other. I'm relieved, believe it or not, that it's not happened. But Papa Shango will have a match. And then we will see a newcomer, Friar Ferguson.
Yeah, they built this up the whole fucking show that Friar Ferguson was going to show up. Friar Ferguson. I'll get to him.
IRS versus Scott Steiner in a tiny, tiny little building. Did you write down what this was?
The Mid-Hudson Civic Center.
Mid-Hudson Civic Center.
Dude, when I was a kid, I watched all of these primetime wrestling shows and Raw and Superstars and all this shit, and they always talked about the fucking Mid-Hudson Civic Center. Mm-hmm. So when you're a little kid, you're like, it may as well have been fucking Madison Square Garden. The Mid-Hudson fucking Civic Center. And you imagine like this big fucking building, like, you know, the size of Safeco Field or something like that. Now here I am, I'm 46 years old watching these shows again, and it's like, what a fucking dump.
Yeah.
It seated like 3,000 people. There's maybe like 500 people there for this Raw show. Place looks fucking empty. It's just a little building in the middle of nowhere. I think this might have been the last show they ever ran at the Mid-Hudson Civic Center. It's the first show that they ever ran for Raw outside of the Manhattan Center. Mm-hmm. And of all the places, they were like, let's move out of the Manhattan Center. I got a great building, the Mid-Hudson Civic Center. We'll pack nobody in that place. God.
So this is, of course, a singles match between two tag team wrestlers. And so Vince McMahon, play-by-play guy, asks Randy Savage, color commentator, the experienced grappler, to explain the difference between singles wrestling and tag team wrestling. And Macho Man says, there's no tag ropes. That's what he had to offer. So, literally the first move in this match was IRS hitting an enziguri, and Macho declares it already a great match. In the middle of this, Rob Bartlett figures out that IRS is a joke. Erwin R. Shyster has the same initials as Internal Revenue Service.
It's not like the guy cut a promo talking about how you had to pay your taxes.
Yeah.
He goes, if you don't pay your taxes, you'll pay double.
12 weeks.
It's like, what? Since when did you have to pay double if you didn't pay your taxes in 12 weeks?
Well, I was saying this is the 12th week, and Rob Bartlett finally figured out what IRS meant.
I see.
So this goes on for a while. DiBiase threatens to
My point is IRS didn't seem to understand what the actual IRS did.
You're right about that, too.
Yeah.
Rick Steiner and Ted DiBiase face off, and DiBiase is so enraged, he removes his male stripper ringwear, and tears away his pants and his fake cummerbund and all this. So the match continues for a while. Irwin tries a top rope move. Scott gets the boot up, makes his comeback, and then the partners just run in for the DQ.
You know what's funny is when this match started, I thought it was a tag match.
Sure.
And so I said, I have a prediction. This match will go to a disqualification. And then I found out it wasn't a tag. It was Scott Steiner versus Erwin Shyster.
Right.
Okay? And I thought, you can beat fucking Erwin.
Sure.
So I changed my prediction. I said, I changed my mind. It's not going to be DQ.
They already talked about what a great finish this Frankensteiner was.
And then you know what happens? They fucked me. They couldn't beat Erwin Shyster.
No.
His name's actually funnier if you take the R out. Erwin Shyster.
I guess.
It is. It's ridiculous. I mean, everything's ridiculous.
Yeah.
As we'll get to.
All right.
When we get to Friar Ferguson.
So the two teams are brawling, and the Steiners are winning the brawl. They're going to go for the double team bulldog, but the Beverly brothers make the save. But in the ensuing melee, one of the Steiners ducks, and the Beverlys accidentally hit DiBiase. And so now there's trouble. So for the record, for those of you keeping score, Scott Steiner was awarded the winner, named the winner via DQ, even though both partners interfered. I don't know how that works, but anyway. So DiBiase's sore at these Beverlys because they punched him. He paid him for the match, and they came in there and decked him, so they're going back and forth. And it's two heel teams who then proceed to both act like assholes.
Yeah, I was watching this thing, and one of these teams has got to be babyface in this feud. And then when it's over, I could not for the life of me figure out who I was supposed to cheer
so
for.
So Erwin Shyster turns his back. One of the Beverlys cheap shots.
So yeah, they have to be heels.
So the Beverlys are heels, which, by the way, would make Money Incorporated Baby faces?
Well,
that's weird.
Then,
but
well, they could throw money out to the people. You know,
Well,
IRS could cut a
that would
promo
be
and
a
go,
rather
I'm
dramatic
going to give you all
change.
till May 15th to pay your taxes this year. And DiBiase could throw money at these geeks.
yeah, well, that's not what happened. What happened was Erwin Shyster grabbed his attaché case and threatened to attack the Beverlys from behind, but then nothing happened. So I don't know.
You know, I don't like to bury the fans, but I do actually think that if Erwin R. Shyster cut promos as a babyface and said, you don't have to pay your taxes till July this year, a lot of those fans wouldn't pay their taxes on time.
I think you're probably right.
And they'd end up paying double.
Yeah. So this show had happened in 2003 instead of 1993. It would have been building to a three-way, but it took place in 1993. So it's just building to another tag match, which we'll find out by the end of the show. Tatanka versus Von Cruz.
I got to talk about Friar Ferguson right now. Okay. Can I?
Sure. Why not?
They card out Von Cruz. Okay? Von Cruz. You guys know who Von Cruz is?
Big Vito.
Big Vito. Skull Von Crush.
Skull Von Crush.
They announced from Germany, Von Cruz. And he comes out, he's got a shaved head, he's a bad guy. And they don't flat out say he's a Nazi, okay? Mm-hmm. But the gimmick is he's an evil German.
Yes, named Von Cruz.
We were at war with Germany. I'm not sure if you guys know this or not.
Some of our listeners may
You might
not.
think that, in fact, if IRS says you have to pay till July, you don't have to. But we were at war with Germany until 1945, okay? Do you know when this fucking show took place?
Hang on, let me look it up again.
I'll tell
1993.
you. 93. Okay? I was born in 1975, okay? I wasn't even alive when Nixon was president. That's how young I am, quite frankly. I wasn't even born when Nixon was the fucking president, okay? So, we're talking years and years before I was born was World War II. I was graduating high school when Von Cruz is in the ring as an evil German. This evil German, correct me if I'm wrong, Vinny, is facing what they called at the time an Indian.
Yeah.
An Indian.
Say it louder. I don't think all your neighbors here in Kauai hear you.
Well, they might think I'm talking about somebody from India.
Yeah.
But back then, this was a Native American, okay?
They did call him a Native American.
He
Tatanka.
did a war dance.
He did.
He had feathers coming out of his headdress.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
We have two of the most preposterous, dated fucking stereotypes. Am I wrong?
I think definitely the evil Nazi and the day of the Indian gimmick wrestler here probably had come and gone. Yes.
All right. So I'm sitting here watching this with you and Rodney, and I'm ranting about how we have a evil German versus an Indian in 1993, because that's what this was. And all of a sudden I realize Friar Ferguson is coming out. He's a friar. Do you know what a friar is?
A religious figure.
Vinny, this is a gimmick from the 11th century.
Okay.
Bro, Vince is like, we got this guy. I got an idea. He's going to be a friar.
Are there no more friars in the world anymore?
Bro.
I haven't seen one.
There may have been friars, but their peak when they were the most famous was about the 11th century.
All right.
This guy comes out, he's got a thing that says monk with a happy face.
This is actually genius. By the way, you're 8 segments ahead, but that's fine.
He has a thing that squirts holy water.
It's Mike Shaw. He's already been Norman the Lunatic, Trucker Norm. I think we're past Bastion Booger here. So he has a different gimmick every 3 weeks anyway. So he just took a notepad. On the right one, on the first page, he wrote a smiley face and the word monk with the implication when this one's done, he'll just tear it off and write the next one.
Yes.
That made me laugh. It's very meta, but it made me laugh.
That's ridiculous. And Josiah says monks are from the 4th century. I'm talking about when they were in their prime. When friars were in their prime, it was by the 11th century. Okay? That was 1,000 years ago. Okay? He's a friar. He's a fucking... They came up with a friar. This takes the cake. This takes the fucking cake. And this guy, he knows how stupid this fucking thing is. He's got his monk robe, but, he pulls it up to show a little bit of skin, and he does this sexy dance.
He was a terrible friar.
A horrible friar. He was not chaste.
No.
And he's doing all his dancing, and then he sits his ass down on the guy's face, teabags him. Is that what it's called?
As a fact, it was, yeah.
Yeah. A teabagging fucking friar in 1993. That's what this goddamn gimmick was. And then one day Vince was like, hey, we need something better than a friar. You're going to be Bastion Booger. You're going to be an S&M master. Is that what Bastion Booger was? He wore fucking leather.
He was just a disgusting person in general.
What in the absolute
A guy with terrible hygiene and manners.
What in the absolute flying fuck was this Friar Ferguson idea?
Well, now you're weeks ahead.
Dude, this was, I think about Skinner and Tatanka and Papa Shango the Voodoo Master and Undertaker, the dead guy, who they made it clear is actually dead on this show. And all of these dumb fucking gimmicks. And even Mantar, okay?
A literal Yeti?
Well, actually, Mantar was kind of the Minotaur.
I thought about Giant Gonzalez.
Actually was further back than Friar Ferguson.
He would be.
Fuck. Can we get some fucking gimmick from 1993 on this show? God. And we were talking about Yokozuna. That's a World War II gimmick. Swinging the fucking Japanese flag. I know we had the
What do they call it? The trade war.
Trade war.
Trade war, yeah.
Yeah, I studied that when I was in 11th grade. But still, this show is the most preposterous fucking show. How did we stay wrestling fans watching this shit? Because we were young and dumb.
Well,
That's why.
I'm going to follow up on your preposterous shit because it's something in this particular episode here you're leaving out. We're watching an Indian wrestle a Nazi, and the most interesting thing that happens is that a clown interferes. Doink the Clown comes out, shoots water at Tatanka, who I'm not sure even realized he was being shot water at, and then Doink leaves.
I think we lost video in a very, very good spot right here. Yeah.
Yeah, just leave it.
Keep going.
All right. So, Von Cruz gets heat on Tatanka for God knows what reason. Tatanka hits some chops and wins the Samoan drop. It was like a 1-minute match with a clown interfering. What do you want? Unable to connect. That's exciting. We may be just videoless. All right, so it's 8 days now. This show aired 8 days after WrestleMania 9. They're still doing WrestleMania reports. Repeatedly on this television show, they claimed WrestleMania 9 was the greatest WrestleMania in history, which was a blatant lie at the time. This is not hindsight. It was clear at the time this is a complete and utter lie. So it's Sean Mooney recapping this. And in hindsight, I wish I had just read everything he said. Because this was the most corny cornball promo of all time. Bret Hart lost the belt in an act of chicanery to Yokozuna.
It was an act of shit cannery is what it was.
Who would foolishly challenge Hulk Hogan and immediately lose the title. We have heard from Jack Tunney. It is now official. Hulk Hogan is the champion. And who will ever forget the meeting between the Massive Crush and the Clown Doink?
The Clown Doink. Well, he is a clown.
Somehow
At least that's a modern gimmick. There were clowns when I was in high school.
The Clown Doink is 1,000 times funnier than Doink the Clown.
That is true.
So they're recapping why you should buy the replay. And there's this vision of two Doinks. And Mooney says, you'll get to experience double vision. And they show Giant Gonzalez and The Undertaker, and he says, it's head and shoulders above every other show. And the final image is of Julius Caesar and Cleopatra, and Sean Mooney then promises, if you watch WrestleMania 9, you'll be ready to take on the world.
Yeah, 1 a.m. after watching Mania 9, fuck, I feel like taking on the world.
This is the key. This may be hard for people to realize. It's 1993. This isn't on demand.
No.
Even the replay airs at 10, and you must buy it at 10 or you miss it.
Now, it is funny because people hear this shit. They're like, what in the absolute fuck? What a waste of time. But in the old days, back when these things did air on pay-per-view, they actually would do good business for those replay shows. So that's why when you watch those old Raws and Nitros and they're plugging that replay so hard, it's because they made money off them.
That's a good reason, actually.
Times have changed. Now they make no money off of them.
Right. So there's a brief clip of the desk where Rob Bartlett is flipping through WWF magazine. And Vince says, "Oh, what are you looking for?" And Bartlett mutters, "Pictures of me." Vince
starts laughing.
Howls. That was the funniest thing Rob Bartlett ever said to Vince McMahon.
Actually, the funniest thing ever was he said, "I'm looking for a picture of me," and then he found one.
Oh,
that's
there
probably
you
what
go.
Vince was laughing about.
That may be it.
How'd this guy get in this magazine?
So Rob Bartlett is then there to interview Luna Vachon. And he says, with zero enthusiasm, "Ladies and gentlemen, I'm very pleased to be here." And he brings out Luna, who has her whole wacky speech pre-recorded and memorized. And God bless Luna and God bless Sherry, but this whole thing was so pre-canned and wacky. There was no reason for this to be live, except for, I guess, how it ended. So all of Luna's dialogue: "I am the true woman of the 90s. I have erased the line between beauty and beast. That Sherry is just a witch." And Bartlett is trying to...
She goes, "I've erased the line between genius and idiot," or something like that.
Genius and insanity.
Insanity. Yeah. And I thought, is that a positive? Like, is that good?
I don't know.
I don't think so.
Bartlett is trying to ad-lib, and he makes something about how... He said, "I hope you don't vomit pea soup on me," making an exorcist joke. She's clearly irritated that he's trying to ad-lib with her. She just ignores it and goes on with her spiel. And eventually, Rob warns her not to mess with sensational Sherry, and she downplays this. "The only thing strong about Sherry is her breath." And Bartlett says, "You wouldn't say that to her face." And he says, "I'll say that anywhere I want to say it." And then it turns out Sherry, of course, is there, and her dialogue is no better. She says Luna is a half-bred woman. Luna claims to be a bandit from an unclaimed future and the woman who rules the ring. And I'm watching this, and it's just, honestly, this is not much different than Glow. It's just hokey and corny and cartoon characters with pre-scripted dialogue, and the pro comedian is completely lost trying to actually work with these people in between. And then Sherry's just had enough, and she just hauls off and kicks Luna in the jaw. It's like a high round kick right to the face. So they're doing this brawl, and they begin to strip clothing off each other, and then Sherry stops to yank off Rob's tie and part of his shirt, or half his shirt, and yes, he ended up wearing essentially a toga with one sleeve gone off his shirt. And the key is there's like flashes of thongs and brasiers here, but it's no different than the attire they actually wrestled in, so it wasn't that big a deal. Although Macho Man did mutter, "This is kind of exciting."
You know, this segment right here, I gotta say, when it first started, it was like, this is so goofy. And then it was like wacky. And then, you know, they were clearly wanting to, have some TNA on the show, because Sherry's in nothing but her bra and her boobs are just all over the place. And she's trying to tear off Luna's pants so you get a thong shot and everything like that. But it's Luna and Sherry who are not divas.
No.
They are
no.
They are women wrestlers.
Yes.
And man, they beat the shit out of each other.
That is also true.
Sherry threw that fucking high kick right to Luna's jaw, and I screamed. I literally screamed on that couch. And then later, Sherry, they're having a brawl and they get separated or whatever, and then they get broken apart, and Sherry just goes, bam! She hits like a V trigger.
Pretty
like
much.
the hardest fucking knee to the stomach of Luna Vachon. I thought she killed her. And man, they're just pounding on each other.
It hurt Luna.
Bartlett's fucking taking bumps, and then he's getting out of there. He's like, I'm not getting in the middle of this again. And they're pounding, and they bring out the referees, and, you know, they come back from commercial, and Sherry has taken Savage's hat, and she's put it over her boobs.
Right, yeah.
And Vince is like, make sure you get a high camera angle on this one, because he's like, you know, we don't want to see their breasts on television. But then, of course, they get right back in the brawl, and there's boobs and ass everywhere.
This is the key.
But it wasn't like a late '90s deal where you had Sable and whatever. It's like these two women were fucking fighting, and when it was over, I was like, I want to see these two have a match, because that'd be the stiffest, fucking most brutal match on the whole WrestleMania card if they would have been on that show.
Yeah. So the key is, because there was a break in the middle, and they came back, and because when they left, Sherry her shirt was torn open, but she still had it on. And they come back from the break. She's just standing there in her bra with Macho's cowboy hat over her bosom. And Luna comes out to attack her again. And the second half of this brawl, there was way more skin than the first half. So I can only imagine this was live. It was uncut, as they said afterwards, uncut, uncensored, and undressed. I can only imagine that after the break, Vince said, that wasn't good enough. Send him out to fight more and get him nakeder. That was the plan. So they did, and then the brawl was actually, I think, still going on as Papa Shango's match began with Scott Taylor, or as Howard Finkel called him, Skip Taylor.
It's better than Dork Funk.
Came across Twitter today. So yeah, the match is beginning, and we see like half of it because they're still showing the women fighting, and they're showing Bartlett completely disheveled and lost at this point. He doesn't know what he's gotten himself into with this whole wrestling nonsense. Savage promises there will be 22 main events for next week's show. I hope he's wrong. And Bartlett's gone. I'm sorry, I made a mistake. Bartlett at this point in the show had disappeared. Vince suggests it may be the last of him. And in fact, Rodney, when this began, and how he remembers this, I have no idea, but he thinks this may have been Rob Bartlett's last show.
I think he's got 2 more shows.
Okay, we'll find out.
That's the rumor.
We'll see.
Yeah.
So Vince says, I don't know if he'll ever return. Monster says, well, hopefully. And then he comes back to the desk at this point. Welcome to the WWF Rambling Bob, Savage says. And Shango hits a shoulder breaker and wins, whatever. So you've discussed the Friar Ferguson gimmick. We have arrived at his match. So I have nothing to add about the gimmick itself, so I'll just discuss this match. Now, we've reviewed a lot of shows. We've done a lot of shows. We've reviewed a lot of shows. I've used a lot of words to describe bad wrestling matches. Atrocious. Terrible. Horrendous. Putrid. Vile. I don't think I've ever said this about a match, but this match was blasphemous.
Oh,
and
wow.
I'm not
a
saying
Friar
this,
Ferguson match blasphemous?
I'm not saying this because it was Friar Ferguson was involved. I just mean the wrestling was so bad, it was an affront to the Lord. There was nothing godly about this match. There was nothing holy about this match. It was
unholy.
Dear God, it was terrible.
You know, the issue was they just went on like forever. And I understand if you have a guy who's debuting and we've never seen him before, and you want to do like an extended squash to show the world all of his moves. What fucking moves was Friar Ferguson doing that I had to watch this fucking match for 9 minutes?
I don't know.
None!
None.
That's the answer.
So the other thing about this is, it's your debut.
Oh, he didn't care.
Clearly.
He was a friar.
This is your one chance to do something.
Bro.
Try.
Well, clearly he got this gimmick and he was like, they don't give a fuck about me, so I'm going to go out there and I'm just going to do as little as humanly possible. Fuck around as a friar and sit on his face.
He hits a big splash, and the ref counts 2, and he pulls him. Friar pulls. Oh, Chris Duffy. We should do a whole show about Chris Duffy, actually. Everything about this guy was a great jobber, but it was wasted in this match. So Friar hits a splash and pulls him up, and everyone boos. I don't mean boo. I mean boo. They're so bored, and Friar is doing this nerve pinch. Vince is pleading with the fans. After this match, there will be a Money Incorporated promo. You've got to hear it. You've got to stay tuned. It just goes on forever and ever, and finally Chris Duffy tries a sunset flip, and Friar teabags him and wins. The Book of Genesis is shorter than this match.
Bro, what in the world is with him lifting up his monk robe and flashing the crowd before doing the... What the hell did they call it? It was like to the Batcave or something?
Back to the Batcave at some point.
Some fucking dumb name for it. God. Yeah, this is horrible. Someone wants to know if this is worse than that Bushwhacker match a few weeks ago. I would say yes. It was different kind of horrible.
Different kind of horrible. I laughed.
Yeah.
I laughed at the Bushwhacker match. I cried at this one.
We were horrified watching this.
Yeah.
Rodney doesn't watch these shows. He only listens to the review. And he sat through this. Rethought a lot of things about this life.
We get a clip of Todd Pettengill interviewing fans at Mania, and then we come back. Randy Savage is chair dancing. That may have been the best thing on the show. So it's time to wrap things up, and Vince says for next week there will be a Bret Hart interview, Virgil versus Razor Ramon, and yes, it's official, Money Incorporated versus the Beverly Brothers. Just weird.
Were we not watching the beginning of this show when they promised us a Bushwhackers match?
I'm pretty sure a Bushwhackers match was advertised at the end of last week's show.
What happened? I know it was advertised because when we watched the end of last week's show.
Okay, well,
I would have killed for a Bushwhackers match on this show. It couldn't have been worse than Ferguson going 9 minutes. Friar Ferguson.
So Money Incorporated starts to talk, and there's two doors behind them. Gee, I wonder what's going to happen. And they get about 2 lines in about the Beverly brothers' bleached blonde hair, and the Beverlys pop out of these doors and attack, and they fight, and the show fades to black, and thank God it's over. That show sucked.
Bro, this was a horrible edition of this show. And it needs to start getting better. Losing my voice ranting about it. And I need this moneymaker for cameos, everybody.
Yes.
F4W Online. Have you gotten your cameo lately?
Have we reached the point now where our show is just an advertisement for your Cameo service?
All right, Vinny, let's get going on this Raw 13 show. We'll see if what Rob's got to add here to all this.
All right, we watched WWF Raw 13, April 19th, 1993. It opens with Money Incorporated and Beverly Brothers doing a promo. I'm paraphrasing, but Money Incorporated says, they won't bankrupt us. And the Beverlys say, we're going to bankrupt them.
What a stipulation.
You must forfeit all holdings.
Yeah.
You're broke now.
Yeah, you must go bankrupt if you lose this
I
match.
hadn't thought of that. But our opener. Oh, what an opener. Razor Ramon versus Virgil.
God.
So they start off, and they're having a technical battle. And Virgil is out grappling him, and Razor has to keep going to the ropes. And this goes on for a long time. And the announcers are discussing Virgil's game plan, whether he should be more aggressive with his takedowns. And suddenly, out of nowhere, Virgil, the technical wizard, fucks up a schoolboy to an impossible degree.
You know what's funny is I was watching it, and you know, you defer to blaming Virgil, right?
You do.
Because, you know, every time he has a match, it's horrible. But I was watching this spot, and I think it might have actually been Scott Hall's fault. Because Virgil was clearly going for something, and Scott Hall was actually very much like Rob Bartlett at MSG. He was fleeing. He was trying to flee from this move, and poor Virgil just like, he got all tangled up and looked like an idiot. So I actually think it might have been Razor's fault. Not that I am absolving Virgil of all blame in this match, because it was quite terrible, but I think that might not have been his fault.
Are you talking about the schoolboy where he got tangled up in the ropes?
I'm not sure which one it was.
I don't remember.
There was a couple of them.
Yeah, there was one where Hall was just fleeing, like, I don't want any part of this weird move.
All I know is they call this move a schoolboy for a reason. School children executed regularly.
Sure. Well, yeah.
These two professional performers fucked it up.
Yeah.
It's going on way too long. Razor won with a razor's edge.
You know, there's a reason that DiBiase never replaced Virgil. And I think I realized why.
Why is that?
It's matches like this, that's why.
Oh, well, I thought you think we'd replace it with someone better. No.
Maybe he didn't need replacing. Maybe he was just that horrible.
So the announcers run down the card, and our friend, Rob Bartlett, is supposed to interview Bret Hart, but he basically refuses, terrified that Bret will beat him up like the women did last week.
God, I don't blame you.
That's fair.
Although, to be fair, if Bret Hart would have beaten you up, you wouldn't have felt a thing.
That's true.
Yeah, it would have been a day off compared to Luna and Sherry.
Yeah, Bret's breasts aren't as heavy as Sherry's.
It's probably true.
That's also true.
Oh, they were.
Okay.
Giant Gonzalez versus L.A. Gore. So I like Giant jogging down to the ring. He's a spry giant.
Well,
And then he gets to the ring to wrestle L.A. Gore. You know what the amazing thing about this bodysuit, this airbrushed, muscled bodysuit? He still needs a tan.
yeah.
There's a pale Yeti.
By the way, was this taped before WrestleMania? Because he went back to the '70s shag.
I presume this
body
was.
suit.
I presume this was taped before WrestleMania. Actually, Rob might know. Was this pre-taped before WrestleMania?
I think so. All I know is that I was not invited to WrestleMania. I don't know why. But here's an interesting piece of trivia. L.A. Gore, when he wrestled that night, he came to me backstage. He says, I don't know if you remember me. And he introduced himself. He was a bouncer at a comedy club I used to work at.
Oh, really?
That's cool.
Wow. How about
I didn't
that?
name him, though.
You know, I remember after WrestleMania, they did that storyline where like you were stuck in Vegas, You were trapped there and you couldn't get back. And I actually, because I didn't know until last week actually that this was your Raw 13 was your final Raw. So as I was watching that one, I was like, maybe this is how they write off Rob Bartlett. Like he went to Vegas and never came back. Like he just got sucked into the vortex of Vegas or something like that. But then you eventually did come back. But the point is, when you were talking about being lost in Vegas, that's when it occurred to me, well, he wasn't even at WrestleMania. What's he doing in Vegas if he wasn't at the show? I thought for sure they'd want to put you in a toga.
It seemed like a natural to me.
Mm-hmm. Wow.
L.A. Gore was a former bouncer, and he bounced here when the giant choke slammed him and pinned him.
Yeah, not much to it.
Yeah.
Nope.
We got a Luna promo on Sherry. I never realized at the time how much Luna was like I guess this came after, but she was down that same promo path as the Ultimate Warrior.
Okay.
Just spout out a bunch of nonsense, do a really wacky gibberish. I walked out a goddess. You had to put your nose in my business. The pain, the anguish, you're mine. Let's see. Last week I tore your flesh, your clothes, your soul. From this day forth, I will hunt your very breath. Very soon I will wipe you from this earth. I will be the goddess of the squared circle.
Excuse me?
Was that a Shakespearean sonnet?
I had to go back and check.
I wanted to offer her a lozenge when she was done.
Craig.
She has her throat, Brian.
No, her throat.
Oh, lozenge.
Oh, my God, Brian.
What do you think he said?
I thought he said a sausage.
Well,
It's disgusting.
Lozenge.
I got it.
a breath mint might have been more appropriate.
Thank you.
Jeez.
Tatanka versus Art Thomas. No, not that one.
I was going to say, when it came out, I was like, holy smokes, I got Sailor... Oh, wait, that's not it.
That's not Sailor Art Thomas. He looked like a power plant guy. He was all jacked up and not very good. And they absolutely fucked up an Irish whip. And Tatanka hit some chops and won with a Samoan drop.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. There's a lot of squashes on this show.
But not this next one.
Dude.
It should have
Holy
been.
smokes.
Money Incorporated versus the Beverly Brothers.
You know what's funny about this match is somehow we had a 2-hour match and a 1-hour Raw. I don't even know how they did that. And I was watching Raw last night. Raw's I don't know if you watch Raw nowadays, Rob. And if you do, you probably don't watch the whole thing because it's 3 hours. But they did a 3-way tag match in the opener, which is actually a really good match. It was a 27-minute pay-per-view caliber match. It was really good. But this took up the entire first hour of Raw. Now, the good news is the match was good. This match here with Money Inc. and the Beverly Brothers, I don't know how many times in my lifetime I have seen a match with two teams that are this good that had a match this bad. It was almost inconceivable. This match went on forever, and they didn't do anything. They laid on the mat, and they laid in these chin locks, and they laid there. And it was weird because, first Money Inc., they were the baby faces. It was like a babyface in peril IRS guy. That was weird.
Yes. Taxman in peril.
Yeah.
Save the tax collector.
Oh, yeah, my God, I got taxes to pay. Make sure that guy's all right. And then, of course, the tax man then gets the heat, and he's beating on the Beverly Brothers. And I'm like, how long is this match? And it just kept going. Holy smokes.
The funny thing is, at the very beginning of the match, McMahon says, I don't know why anybody would want to see this. I was like, fool, you booked this.
He did.
he was burying his own product.
Yeah.
His own match.
That he sat through it.
No one wants to see this, he says. So I think, trying to watch this in 2022 eyes and try to make sense of it all, I think their plan was, we're both heel teams. We'll go in there. We'll wait for the fans to cheer for somebody, and that team will be the babyface, and we'll go from there. 30 minutes later, nary a cheer was heard. Yeah. They said, fuck it, let's just pin somebody. And so Bo bonked into Blake, and Ted pinned Blake with a schoolboy.
Yeah. Whew. That was a long one.
That was a slog.
That match was almost as long as Rob's entire tenure on Monday Night Raw, actually. excruciatingly long, this match. Holy smokes. Hours. This match just went hours.
It may still be going on somewhere.
Yeah.
Well, they kept breaking for commercial during the match, right?
Yes.
If I'm not mistaken.
Yes.
Yeah.
And every time we would break for commercial, Vince would lean over and say, "Can you believe the athleticism?"
He said that to you?
Yeah, you gotta give these guys credit.
Yeah, they weren't doing anything, of course.
Well, I mean,
He was very enamored.
Honest to God, there was a lack of athleticism. That was a problem with this match. They were laying there on the mat in chin locks. I was dying for some athleticism. Was Vince always just sitting there talking to you, trying to put over the product?
I think he was trying to help me, trying to get me jazzed, or trying to, trying to lead me into something. Or
okay.
We'd go to commercial, and he'd kind of lean over and say, jump in whenever you want. Long stretches where I wouldn't say anything,
Well, it's funny because nowadays he gets in the headset and he yells at everybody. That's what he does to the announcers now. He yells at them over the headset, and like many of them have quit. Like Mick Foley quit because he was getting yelled at by Vince too much in the headset. So it's interesting to hear like the way that he essentially produced his announcers, because like he was sitting there with you guys back then as compared to like what he does today. It was pretty, because you didn't tell him you were going to be Vince, right? You just did it.
Oh, I just did it because he was, I knew he wasn't going to be there. To be fair, I never had to clear anything. I just did, he gave me free reign, for better or worse.
Wow.
And as it turned out, the one time that it really worked was when I did him. It's the I was legend with the crew from that point forward.
This crew
the next 3-4 episodes, but he says it started with me making fun of him at the benefit, and it kind of ended with me making fun of him on the show. So it came full circle.
Yes,
squared circle.
Yeah, indeed. Vince interviews Bret Hart, filling in for Rob Bartlett.
Right.
So this is Bret's first appearance after he lost the title to Yokozuna. He says, "I've always been an underdog, even when I was champion. I was an underdog. I have lost titles before. I lost the tag titles twice. I have lost the Intercontinental twice. And every time I lost the title, the skeptic said I was done. That's as good as he was going to get. Well, they were wrong then, and they're wrong now."
So this couldn't have been taped before Mania.
That's a good point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
At least this part.
Yeah.
He vows he's going straight back to the top. He's made a hit list, starting with a narcissist Lex Luger. And they have been talking about this for weeks. They finally showed it.
Narcissist.
Pardon me. Narcissist.
Narcissist.
Lex Luger.
You got to say it the way Heenan used to say it. Narcissist.
So they had talked about this for weeks. This is the first time we actually saw it. They're at like a charity breakfast or something. And Bret's up there. He's got the Beatles jacket on. He's doing a speech at a podium. And for no reason, the narcissist comes up and just waffles him in the back of his head with an elbow.
What a dick.
Just for no reason. And so Bret vows here he's going to deal with this narcissist, and then he's going to regain his title, even if he has to beat the immortal Hulk Hogan.
A lot of stuff that didn't happen here. What's it called when you foreshadow something but it never happens? Besides just WWE.
A red herring.
Okay.
Bam Bam Bigelow versus Phil Apollo. So Bam Bam started wrestling Phil Apollo, as I noted, and Savage is on commentary saying, "Man, the competition here keeps getting better. Look at Friar Ferguson."
Oops.
God.
In the middle of this match,
I lost it about Friar Ferguson.
Doink walks out from the locker room.
Dork
walks out from the locker room, looks around, and walks back. Not impressed, apparently, with the match.
No. I don't know why. I was enjoying this match.
It was Bam Bam killing a guy.
Yeah. What could be better than that?
He squashed him with a senton.
Yes.
And I mentioned this when he did the Undertaker match. This is like the biggest I have ever seen Bam Bam. And so when he squashed him flat.
When did Dork's Mini-Me Dank enter the picture?
Sometime
Within the year.
I think it's by Survivor Series. Yeah, so sometime over the summer or something.
Okay.
I think.
It was prior to, post my reign there,
Yeah.
I guess.
God, you'd have had material for years with Dink.
No, I just love little people, so I would have been in my glory,
Okay. So Bam Bam wins with a headbutt, and he goes to beat him up more. When who should make the save but Friar Ferguson,
Yeah.
who last week we saw debut.
I thought for sure this guy was a heel.
He was being a complete prick last week. And here he comes, drunken Friar to the rescue.
Yeah. And he makes a save, and he starts flashing the crowd again, all thanks to Rob. Then he starts spraying this guy with water out of his jug. What's that thing called?
Excuse me.
A flask?
Yeah, no, I guess it's a flask.
There's a name for it, I think.
Yeah, the weird flask that looks like a little banjo or something like that. He starts spraying water everywhere.
Oh, it's not a banjo.
Yeah. No, looks like a banjo.
Oh, it's like the goat skin.
Holy water
Yeah,
thing.
exactly. Yeah.
Let's see if I can find anything on
It's
this.
supposed to be wine. I think that was.
Oh, is that what it was?
Yeah, it's supposed to be wine.
I see.
Sacrificial wine, obviously.
Well, he sacrificed it all over Bam Bam.
Sure did. God.
Sounds lewd.
Anyway.
Bam Bam's not a guy you really want to mess with.
No.
He's got
Don't say.
tattoos of flames on his fucking head.
Yep.
You really gotta,
Yeah.
give yourself a little pause.
Try to stay on his good
Well,
side.
to be honest, Rob, you don't know how many people have tattoos on their head and then just grew their hair,
That's true.
like me.
That's.
I have a heavily tattooed head. Just can't tell.
I only have one tattoo. It's on my belly. It's an arrow pointing downward, and in Old English lettering it says "for the ladies." So
How's that worked out for you there?
I've
Rob?
never wanted anything to be true
I
more.
keep my shirt on. So
Yeah.
I didn't notice it when you were getting beat up by Sherry and Luna.
no, I kept the T-shirt on.
Nice.
So, sorry, Rob, go ahead.
Yeah.
Well, Friar kicks Bam Bam out of the ring. They go to the break, and they come back. Friar's just still in the ring,
Just spewing that stuff everywhere.
blessing it, I suppose.
Yeah.
And they advertise for next week. What a main event this is going to be. Crush versus Narcissist.
I forgot about Crush.
For the rest of your days, we're going to hear Narcissist.
What do you have to say about Crush there, Rob?
I forgot completely about him. I just
most
he was
people
one of
do.
the guys that kind of slipped through the cracks in my memory. I remember, he was the Hawaiian guy, right?
A giant Hawaiian, yes.
Yes.
Yeah, mahalo, Randy. I remember him saying that.
Did say that a lot.
Yeah, he said mahalo a lot, and he never addressed me. He would only address Randy and Vince.
Oh,
I didn't exist.
He big
Yeah,
timed
that's
you.
fine.
God. Can you imagine big timing Rob Bartlett? Especially
you
when
know
you're
what?
Crush.
Well, he's sorry now.
Well,
He's sorry now. Well, didn't they name the turtle from Finding Nemo after him?
I think that actually,
damn,
well, it
maybe
was
you're right.
Crush the Turtle.
Yeah.
Right.
I don't know if it was
I hadn't thought about that.
Yeah.
The stoner turtle?
Wasn't it?
Yeah, the stoner
okay.
turtle.
Okay.
My daughter's watched that movie 1,000 times. I've never seen it once. The turtle is a stoner?
Yeah,
He's
man.
basically a surfer dude. He's kind of like
I
a Spicoli.
see. A weed-smoking turtle?
Yeah,
A seaweed smoking turtle. Yeah.
I need to
And
fucking watch this show.
joints are really hard to light underwater, so you got to give him credit.
That is true.
That's a dedicated stoner.
Yeah.
They're very dedicated.
Thank God for edibles.
The fish flavored edibles.
Right.
Is that the end of the show, Vinny? Was that it?
That's the end of the
That's
show.
it.
Oh, God. I watched it 2 weeks ago. I totally forgot everything about it except that Money Inc. match.
And it ends with not a bang, but a whimper.
It really was, Rob. I can't believe. So, like, did you know this was your last show, or was it after this show that you were like, I'm not coming back next week?
I had kind of entertained the idea prior to the show that this might be my last, and I was kind of debating whether or not I should do something
Oh, man.
really outrageous, but I kind of chickened out. And in retrospect, it probably was the right thing to do, but I still wish I had done something.
Well, I mean,
crazy.
quite frankly, they haven't called you, dude. So if you would have done something like outlandish, it's possible you'd be in their Hall of Fame right now.
You know, that would be no greater honor. You know, I've won a Drama Desk Award, but being in the Wrestling Hall of Fame would just supersede everything. You know, I got 2 Emmys, but no, Wrestling Hall of Fame, man, that would be. What more could a boy want
Dude, there ain't
to be in
much.
the Wrestling Hall of Fame?
Well, you
Brian,
know,
a guy.
hey, I don't know. I don't know about that, but you know what I can tell you, Rob?
Right.
I can tell you as we prepare to wrap up today that we, here at this website, have what I like to call the Hall of Awesome.
That's right.
And Vinny and I are the panel as well as Craig. And I believe that after today's show, you are going to go into a Hall of Fame, Rob. You're going to go into the Brian and Vinny Matt Cleary Memorial Hall of Awesome. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Hey!
Somebody didn't say aye.
By Right? Did you say aye?
I did.
Aye.
Vinny did. We don't care about Craig. Yeah. Oh, there he did. Okay, all right. Well, there he goes. Very prestigious. You get nothing except the knowledge that you're in there.
There's a forum with a few hundred users who know you're in there.
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly.
You know what? There are no words. There are no words.
It matches the award, actually.
I'm speechless. Not unlike 9 of the 13 weeks that I was on the show. Nothing to add of any value.
Well, you added a lot today, Rob, and we appreciate it.
Absolutely.
I want to thank you very much for doing this show, and maybe one of these days when we review Raw 1 for like the 8th time, we'll have you on again. For some reason, every now and then we'll review a show, and then everyone just tells us, you reviewed that show like 4 years ago.
I did a watch along with Sean Mooney on his podcast.
Oh, goodness.
It was the first time I'd seen it since we'd done it. And, oh, man, that was painful.
Man, that Sean Mooney looks great, doesn't he?
Yeah, I don't know what was more painful. Me, or Heenan dressed as a rabbi and a woman. I don't know which one was more painful, but I tell you, Heenan, God bless him, God rest his soul. What a great guy! What a funny motherfucker.
He was awesome.
He really was. He really, really was a sweetheart too. Just After I did the vids for the whole show, he comes up to me in the backstage dressing room and goes, "Bartlett, you got balls."
Well, you did have balls to do that one, especially without telling him. I figured he had to know. Learn something new every day.
They were fit to be tied. They had no idea because what could they say? I was just spouting gibberish and ending every sentence with "Monday Night Raw."
Well, it was fantastic. And hey, listen, we're going to wrap it up here today.
We watched WWF Raw 14, April 26th, 1993. So the hosts are, in fact, Vince McMahon, Randy Savage, and Bobby the Brain Heenan. They plug the main event of, and I think I'm saying this right now, the Narcissist.
Yeah, the Narcissist.
Versus, as they called him here, the original Hawaiian Crush.
Yeah, that's bullshit.
I don't
that
think
fucking guy ain't the original
the
Hawaiian.
first Hawaiian.
Christ, I just read a book about Hawaii, and I'll tell you one thing. He was not the original Hawaiian.
Was he in it? Was
no!
Was he close? Was he second
He wasn't
or third?
even in the goddamn book.
I'm skeptical he's Hawaiian.
Oh, he's very Hawaiian.
Oh, he's definitely Hawaiian.
I don't believe it.
But he plays it up.
He cranks the
like
Hawaiian
I play
up.
up my
You don't say.
Hispanic heritage.
Yes. Much like Eddie Guerrero, who had no accent at all in years and years in WCW, showed up on Raw and became Latino Heat.
Yeah.
With the lowrider and everything. Anyway, also Shawn Michaels will join us. But first, Mr. Perfect versus Damien Demento.
You know what's funny, though? It was better than I expected.
You
so
know what?
Mr. Perfect must have been really, really, really
in some
fucking
ways,
good.
In some ways, this may have been Mr. Perfect's best match.
I was just talking about this today with Lance because we were talking about Scott Hall. And, I think maybe Scott Hall might have gotten like one 5-star match. Like the ladder match. The ladder match was 5 stars. I think Dave might have given the other ladder match he did at SummerSlam 5 stars. But in general, he never got 5-star matches. And, there's some people where, well, you can't really say that Scott Hall is one of the great workers of all time because he never really got 5-star matches, But there's various ways to determine whether someone's like a really good worker. And if you're really good at your job, if you can sell, and if you can beat people up believably, and if you can not hurt them, and if you have charisma and interview ability, you're a pretty fucking great worker. And I bring that up because Kurt Hennig's one of those guys everyone remembers as being like, he was so great. But then you think, what 5-star matches do you ever remember with Kurt Hennig? Oh, none?
Bret.
I don't even know if that was. Their SummerSlam match was awesome, but one way or the other, that doesn't mean he wasn't one of the great workers of all time, because he was, in fact, really fucking awesome. Yep. And it was proven here when he managed to have almost a good match with Damien Demento. I'm not sure Ric Flair could have had a good match with Damien Demento.
I wrote down a lot of stuff about the commentary. I wrote down nothing about the match until the end, where I said perfect one with the perfect plex. And I wrote match is just whatever. And then I realized, dude, it's Damien Demento.
You've never seen a match with a Damien Demento that was just whatever.
Yes.
That's a great praise.
This is the best Damien Demento match I've ever seen by miles.
Yeah, by miles.
I don't
Can
think
you imagine that by miles your match is just there?
Yes.
Even you had better matches than that.
I had yes, actually.
Yes.
2 or 3.
You were superior to Damien Demento.
My best.
Yeah.
Worst Vinny V was not as good as Damien Demento.
Well, I mean, your match with Stoney Edwards was probably an
was worse
average
than this.
Damien Demento match.
Maybe. Anyway.
There was a point where Hennig got thrown out of the ring and he wiped out the cameraman. But this cameraman was determined to do his job. So he's laying in the prone turtle position, but he's still got the camera pointed up at Perfect as he's on the apron, getting a great close-up
Well, he
shot
probably got yelled at earlier for pointing the fucking wrong way when they told him to get a shot of Paul Sasnowski.
So he's on his back and he's filming at this weird, awkward angle, and all we're seeing is a close-up of Mr. Perfect's moose knuckle. And it's...
Excuse me?
That's all I can say, Brian. I don't know what else to call it.
All right. Well, I'm going to talk about commentary now.
Okay.
First of all, they acknowledged Rob Bartlett was not there, and they told a few jokes and insults, and Savage said Bobby Heenan cannot carry Rob Bartlett's jock, to which Bobby replied, he's wearing a jock? But the official in-canon story is that Rob Bartlett quit Monday Night Raw because he refused to be on the same show as Bobby the Brain Heenan. And there you go. That's why Rob's never on Raw again.
Wow.
And they're going back and forth and insulting each other, these announcers are. And I believe Savage was talking about Heenan when he said, you are a small-town dude with a big city attitude. Yes, he quoted Cher. Anyway, Perfect won.
Yeah, he sure did.
Mm-hmm.
He was a winner.
All right, so this next segment, Randy Savage is talking about how he adopted a local school, and they brought in one of the young school children to read her essay. Her name was Jasmine McNeil. Mm-hmm. She had an essay called No Hope with Dope. And Craig actually sent me a text a day or two before asking me to please transcribe this entire thing.
He had actually a better idea, which was we need to do say nope to dope.
No hope with dope.
Oh, no hope with a dope. I like mine better. Say nope to dope. You know, some guy goes, I got some dope. You say nope.
Yeah, I understand, Brian.
Yes. So anyway, I think we should do a no hope with dope contest. I've never smoked dope, believe it or not. But anyway, I think that'd be a fun contest because I already got some poems in my head.
Oh, I can only imagine.
Yeah.
A lot of stuff rhymes with dope.
That's true. That's true. Mm-hmm. Well, the reason I bring up Craig's text and all this is because I actually did transcribe this.
Thank you.
Well, it's not necessary because most of it is not funny. It's just a young girl, and it's an essay, not a poem. But it's very short, but she's telling the story of being at her own funeral and seeing her grandmother and sister and mother and father being all very sad, but also angry this didn't have to happen because if it was not for drugs, I would not be lying in a casket. She talks about peer pressure and friends asking her to try drugs. And she says, I wish I had a chance to tell all my friends there is no hope with dope. Now, up to this point, to this exact instant, I didn't think any of this was funny at all. I thought it was maybe a little silly, but more sad than anything. This young girl is just trying her best to write the story that she's being told about marijuana. Mm-hmm. But she finishes. And there is the Undertaker's dong.
Yes.
Yes.
And he steps out of the shadows.
It's just like Malachi Black.
It is actually. It's very much a Malachi Black promo.
Yeah.
There's the House of Taker, which is the Undertaker and Jasmine McNeil. Maybe she can be your next surprise guest. But this little 8-year-old girl, whatever she is, she looks way, way up at the Undertaker, who has just emerged beside her. And the Undertaker says, in the 1993 Undertaker voice, there's no hope with dope.
And I howled.
It's one of those things where, is it appropriate to laugh right now?
I hope so.
At him. And not just so much at him, but just the absurdity of the entire situation.
The ridiculousness of this. Okay, listen, we've all done shows for Say No to Drugs, and there's a bunch of wrestlers in the back all doing drugs. Come on.
It's a little strange. And there's certainly the reefer madness vibe of this young girl's afraid she will die if she tries marijuana. So you can laugh at that. You can laugh at the absurdity of The Undertaker being the one to deliver the final message there. I mean, it's definitely absurd. The whole thing's definitely absurd. I'm not laughing at her. I'm just laughing at the whole thing.
I mean, we could think about all of the premature deaths of wrestlers in the 90s and the fact that not one of them was due to dope.
Right.
I'm almost positive, yes.
Yeah.
Of all of the drugs and to do a public service announcement about, they chose dope. Even cigarettes.
Yeah.
Sure.
Actually, yes. So that happened.
It sure did.
Now we go back to the announcers, where Bobby Heenan says he has a scoop, and he tells the whole story about a guy from New Jersey whose name, I don't know if he ever actually wrote down his last name.
Paul
I guess
Sosnowski.
first name later at the end of the show, but explains he's from New Jersey. He's going to propose to his girlfriend. She doesn't know about it. He's sitting right over there. And this is the part where the camera goes literally the wrong way.
Fucking idiot.
You watch the show.
And then Vince starts screaming at the guy.
I mean, when you think about it, Monday Night Raw is like, seriously, it's the biggest wrestling TV show ever. But its early days, it was so incompetent.
Oh, yeah.
So, camera pans back the other way, and then Bobby Heenan says, "You see that blonde in the front row? It's not her. We're next to her." So there's these two people, as we found out, they were at the time in love. But first, Crush versus Narcissist.
Holy shit, this was the longest fucking match I ever saw in my fucking lifetime. Are we sure this is not a 3-hour Raw?
So
God, and it was bad.
So Lex has been laying people out with the loaded elbow, and to indicate, they finally revealed, I guess, that he was in a motorcycle accident and his arm was rebuilt, and he's got plates and screws in there. And the way they did this was they took a still shot of Lex, and he's doing a double bicep pose. He's all jacked up, and it's Lex Luger. And they just photoshopped in an x-ray over his arm. This is where the screws are.
It was ridiculous. At some point, Vince was saying, you can actually see the head of the screws coming through his skin. What kind of a dope do you think I am, Vince?
There's no hope with dope, Craig.
There's not.
So, I'm not sure in the first hour of this match if they ever actually touched each other.
Oh, they did all right. Because Lex Luger was taking arm drags
Eventually.
where he was jumping early. His Crush was doing whatever he was supposed to be doing late.
How did Crush not get cut by his screws sticking out of his skin with doing arm drags?
So Crush, at one point, they do a lock-up, and Crush pushes... They do a lock-up, right? And Crush pushes him to the corner, and it's by... Because something finally happened, Vince screams, "What a maneuver!" That guy pushed that other guy! And they stand there. And they stand there. And they stand there. And I shouted out loud, "I will personally pay you to start wrestling!" And they began to wrestle. And I refused to pay them for what I saw. It was not worth money. Crush did press slam him at one point. Mm-hmm. I will note that. There's at least 1 feat of strength.
You know what's funny? And it's actually kind of depressing. They tried.
Right.
A little.
You know what I'm saying?
They tried a little.
Yeah, but they tried.
I mean, on a scale of 1 to 10, it was not 0, but it was not 2.
Well, I mean, I would have done a 0.
On a granny scale.
Sometimes
Of
you're
their
just
effort.
like, there's no hope. Why fucking bother?
Wow.
You know what I'm saying?
Oh, believe me, that's my life philosophy.
Yeah.
Yes.
Sometimes you just have to have that mindset, but not these guys.
No.
They were like, that's probably going to be bad, but let's try a little.
So there's a bear hug and stuff, and then Crush does... He did the press slam.
Fucking bear hug.
He did the press slam, which was super duper impressive. Then he goes for a normal standard body slam and drops Lex right on his shoulder. Mm-hmm. So he goes to the head squisher.
You ever done that deal where, like, one of your buddies, they want their back adjusted, and they put
Yes.
their hands like this, and then you lift
In
them?
wrestling all the time, yes.
Yeah, and, if you squeeze hard, they're like, ah! Because you just squeezed them really hard. Mm-hmm. It's like, why doesn't anyone do the fucking bear hug anymore? I realize it's like a stupid hold, but
Because it's 2022?
no dumber than a fucking laying there in a headlock or a chin lock or anything like that.
Keith Lee or Wardlow could make a bear hug.
Fuck. If you really squeeze a guy really hard like that, like if you're really strong, that really fucking sucks.
Sure.
But no. Instead, we just lay on the mat, holding onto each other's necks.
Anyway, Crush is doing this head squeeze for, the second...
Which got over.
Okay.
He snuck up behind the guy and he goes like this, and everyone went, ah! And he grabbed him and they popped.
Oh, they thought
like
his
he's
head
going to
might pop.
squeeze his head.
His elbow was metal, not his skull. So he's squeezing his head, and he's squeezing, and he lets go. And why does he let go? Because Doink comes out to distract him. Not in the aisle, not in the apron, way up yonder in the rafters.
Yeah.
Dude, what's this clown going to do to you? Finish your match. You have time. But then it turns out there's another Doink over in these rafters over here. There's 2 Doinks. And so Lex hits Crush with the elbow of death, knocks him out of the ring. Crush is, in fact, dead outside the ring. And he is counted out. This was very, 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 very bad.
My wife asked, what was Doink going to do from all the way up there? And I said, well, maybe he has one of those squirty flowers that could hit all the way to the
A
ring.
fire hose with a flower at the end.
Gosh.
You know, that reminds me, by the way, that the best part of this show actually was not... oh, God damn it. It actually was not the wedding.
Okay.
That was the second best part of the show.
Proposal.
The proposal, yeah.
Yeah.
The best part of the show, which unfortunately I can't find because my computer won't make life easy for me and get my username and password for this fucking peacock. But the best thing about the show was a phone call between Hacksaw Jim Duggan and Bobby the Brain Heenan. They're hyping up a match next week, which, if I recall, is a fucking awesome match with Shawn Michaels and Hacksaw Jim Duggan. And they're promoting it. And at the end of the call, Hacksaw Jim Duggan and Bobby Heenan start cutting promos on each other. And I'm not talking like, Heenan's just talking about how, one eye goes one way, the other goes the other. Heenan's like threatening to kick his ass. And their fucking promo battle back and forth. I wish I could load up Peacock right now because it's like 1,000 stars. But I bring it up because, we're making fun of Crush's head squeeze and everything like that. One of Hacksaw's lines, just totally deadpan. He goes, if I want to hear something out of you, I'll squeeze your head. That was the whole line. I laughed so hard, and I rewound it, and then I got to figure this out. You keep going.
All right. So, anyway, this segment sucked. They announced June 13th will be the King of the Ring, a one-night single elimination tournament. There will be qualifying matches to see who gets in on Superstars this weekend at Doink versus Mr. Perfect, which actually sounds awesome, by the way. And on Wrestling Challenge, Lex Luger versus Bob Backlund.
Wrestling Challenge.
This was a show, yes.
Yeah.
It's one of those...
Years.
It's like I had a buddy ask me to advise to recommend some Scott Hall matches, and I recommended the ladder matches, of course, and he had a title match against Bret, which I actually haven't seen in forever, but people were raving about it recently. But then the other one is the Razor and Kid versus Shawn and Diesel tag match from a television program called Action Zone.
I remember Action Zone.
I do not remember. I remember this match. I remember the show called Action Zone. But
Shauna put up I
saw that
with Razor and Buddy.
Razor Ramon versus Buddy Wayne.
I had no idea.
But that was the first I'd seen of it, and it's fun.
Yeah,
there's a great big strong guy who takes a very tiny guy and throws him around a lot, and then he pins him.
It's hard not to hate.
And apparently went out and had a beer later, so great, win all around.
Dude, this fucking Peacock website is the biggest pile of shit I've ever seen. How in the fuck do you go back and find the old Raws? Like, I can figure it out on my phone or my iPad.
You on the website?
It's fucking impossible right here. What in the fuck? Not a playlist. Watch now. Watch what? No, I don't want to watch the fucking top 10 moments. How do I go back in the fucking archives?
Where's the Hall of Fame? Play the fucking Hall of Fame.
Hall of Fame. Jesus Christ. The early Raws. Oh, okay. Season 1, Episode 1. Season 1, Episode 3. Season 2, Episode 45. Where the fuck's the rest of Season fucking 1? Am I wrong? Fuck me. Oh, yeah. Now it goes to Season 1, Episode 17. Then Season 2, Episode 42. Then Season 2, Episode 44. Then Season 2, Episode 41. Now we're going fucking backwards. Where in the fuck is it? Jesus. I haven't had this much problem since 2006. Where is the fucking list of episodes? Can somebody help me?
All right, hang on. I'm loading it right now.
Do it on your computer and tell me.
I'm doing it on my computer, peacocktv.com, and it should log me in here.
Okay, great.
I'm waiting. Who's watching? That's me, Vinny, yes. All right, up at the top, I'm going to click WWE.
Yeah.
All right.
Yep.
And WrestleMania. The most stupendous moments of WrestleMania history. That's not it. Okay, there's a little bar below that. There's WWE, and then it says Raw.
Okay, click Raw.
Click Raw.
Now, what do you got?
There's
latest Raw episodes. How does that help me?
Moments, Attitude Era Raws, Ruthless Aggression Raws, the early Raws, and okay, you're right. All right, so I'm going to now plan B.
What's fucking plan B?
Up at the very top here, there's a magnifying glass. I'm going to do click that and type Raw.
Okay.
Results.
Okay, yeah, I clicked Raw. It takes me right fucking back.
Okay, I get a thing here that says must be Monday, but you
Oh, wait,
over.
hold on.
Yes.
There's season 1.
There it is, yes.
Jesus, could they have made that any less convenient? Now, what fucking day is it? All right, here we go. God damn
Monday.
it. Well,
It's
I know
Monday
that,
Night
you
Raw.
idiot. What day? What Raw?
14.
I know that. What fucking day was it on?
April 23rd?
All right.
Something like that?
Where is this thing now?
April 26th.
Okay, find out where the Hacksaw Jim Duggan thing was. Where is it in your notes?
It's in the Mr. Hughes match, right? No, I'm sorry, it's later. Hang on.
After Mr. Hughes?
It
After the young Bucks or whatever?
Did I write it down even?
Is it after Shawn Michaels?
I didn't write down when it happened, but it must be after the Michaels promo, which would mean it would be in the Typhoon Von Cruz match.
Typhoon and Von Cruz? God, this is going to be annoying.
It's the last match on the show.
Good thing we're live here.
Sure.
Couple of giants. Okay. Bam Bam, yeah, that's not it.
It's after that.
All right.
This is the Typhoon match.
Yeah, I know that.
Okay.
So where's that phone call?
It must be somewhere in here. Yeah, it is here. Okay, yes.
Okay, here
There
we
it
go.
is.
All right.
Well, I saw what he had to say. I've been watching TV here at home, and I'd be real worried if I had a...
Cuts a promo on Shawn first. This is not the good part.
If I wanted to be on the cover of a magazine, but Shawn Michaels needs to understand one thing. We're getting in the ring to wrestle, so he better be losing some sleep.
This fucking match is terrible, by the
Good
way.
luck going against the title, going for the title there, Hacksaw. We all love you here at Monday Night Raw. Looking forward to seeing you here next week.
Thanks very much, Macho. I'm looking forward to it. Of course, this is Hacksaw Jim Duggan's first shot at a title, so Shawn Michaels, prepared to get beat up, tough guy.
Hey, Hacksaw, this is Bobby Heenan. Hacksaw, you there?
Yes, I'm right here, Weasel.
You know the string you got between both those cans you're talking to? Cut it in half and hang up.
Hey, if I want any out of you, I'll squeeze your head, tough guy.
I wish you were here. I'd slap you so hard I'd straighten out your
I'll
eyes.
see you
You
next
miserable
week, Heenan. And when I
300-pound
get done with
termite.
Shawn Michaels, I might just give you a little 2x4 souvenir.
Yeah, I'll give you a 4x4 and a 6x8, you miserable half-wit.
There you
Well,
go.
if he was here, I'd take him
Tough
apart.
guy.
Next week, he will be here.
Exactly. I mean, I feel that way next week. I'm just hot right now. Yeah.
I'll squeeze your head. His delivery's the greatest.
Bobby Heenan. Hacksaw, you there?
Yes, I'm right here, Weasel.
You know the string you got between both those cans you're talking to? Cut it in half and hang up.
Hey, if I want any out of you, I'll squeeze your head, tough guy.
I wish you were here. I'd slap you so hard.
What the fuck does that even mean?
You miserable 300-pound termite.
Shawn Michaels, I might just give you a little 2x4 souvenir.
Yeah, I'll give you a 4x4 and a 6x8, you miserable half-wit.
There you
Well,
go.
if he was here, I'd take him
Tough
apart.
guy.
Miserable half-wit's not used enough as an insult.
No, it's not. The saying was, if I want any S out of you, I'll squeeze your head.
I see. I got it. I liked it. Am I the only one?
If you whatever you can find joy in these shows, I want to make fun of you.
Absolutely.
On that note, our next match here is Mr. Hughes versus Jason Knight. So Mr. Hughes,
That Jason Knight, by the way.
yes, it is that Jason Knight.
I'm sure he would deny it.
It's also that Mr. Hughes.
God, this bad one.
What?
That's a rating.
Was there a sentence there?
That's a rating. One.
I see. So Mr. Hughes, like 1 year ago, had been Lex Luger's bodyguard in WCW.
That's right.
And he's debuting here on Raw. doing a terrible Big Bubba impression, even complete the same finisher.
I wonder if they came as a package deal. Da-dun-cha.
I see what you did there.
Thank you.
So this is the match, and I know it's hard to believe during Mr. Hughes and Jason Knight that anyone would get bored. But Bobby Heenan gets bored and pulls out his TV and makes you switch channels.
He's watching TBS.
He's channel surfing. Yes, he loaded up the big picture on TNT.
I was dying.
The Braves game is on TBS. Sir Mix-a-Lot's Baby Got Back music video is on. And then he found the scrambled porn. Now, for those of you under the age of like 30...
And then Savage goes, this is the good stuff.
Those of you under the age of 30 may not understand. Back in the day, you may have had a cable box, but if you didn't pay for the porn channels, you couldn't actually see anything. You could hear it just fine. But if you tuned into that porn channel, all you saw was a bunch of wavy lines. What is what Brain's looking at here? And, you know, every 13-year-old now has a... It's like cool the first time they see a boob, but then they're sick of it. Every 13-year-old has a porn blocker on their phone. When I was 13, man, I've watched these... A nipple might flash across the screen. That would be a great day if it did.
Did you have one of those old school TVs where you could mess with the horizontal and the vertical, and sometimes you could get it to come in?
I don't think I did, no.
Oh, tough. Sucks to be you.
It did. It really did. This is by far the most entertaining thing about this match. Mr. Hughes won with a Bubba Slam, and there you go. A new team is on the way. It's Billy and Bart Gunn. They have horses. There's cactus there. They've been riding together for a lot of years, they say.
The Smoking Guns.
The funny thing is...
I hope they say nope to dope.
It's Billy Gunn and Bart Gunn, but they never said they were brothers. They said they were partners. And they've been riding together
Maybe they're married.
I hadn't thought of that. Which would be very interesting considering...
Either Billy or Bart took the other Gunn's last
It's
name.
interesting considering what goes on in the Sean promo next, but...
That was weird.
They're ready to face the good, the bad, and the ugly, and they're always riding high in the saddle. And they ride off.
They're smoking guns that are riding high on a show where I was told no dope. What the fuck was the line? I watched it 6 times.
Say nope to dope.
No, that's wrong, Craig. No hope with dope.
No, whatever.
Oh, Christ.
It's like, and we got the fucking uncut, uncensored, and whatever last week.
Yeah, we did.
Oh, Jesus. So Vince interviews HBK. Sean comes out, and Vince asks, why have you chosen to defend your title against Hacksaw Jim Duggan here on Raw next week, even with Mr. Perfect breathing down your neck? And Sean starts...
Curry reminded me of the D-Scrambler gimmick, but we can move on.
I had one of those.
Sean proceeds to
sure
bury
did.
New York.
That's why we're here today.
Right.
Yeah. He begins to...
That was definitely worth the $300.
Yeah.
That I can tell you.
So Sean buries New York. He insults the fans, saying, I think some of these fans were in that march on Washington this weekend. And yes, in April of 93, there was a march for gay rights in Washington.
You didn't really have to look it up. It's
Yeah,
pretty obvious
it's
what he was talking about.
It's pretty obvious.
And then the fans start chanting, Sean is gay.
Yes. Which Bobby Heenan tries to cover up, saying, listen to the fans. They're chanting, Sean is great. Sean is great.
Well, first of all, he goes, if these fans only knew.
I did hear that, too.
Yeah. Referring that maybe Sean got a little tail every now and then.
So...
Or something.
Anyway, Sean...
It was 93. He got a little trim.
So Sean, staying on topic, says Hacksaw Jim Duggan is ugly, and the people mean nothing to him. He has no time for these losers. And then let's put a perfect bow on all of this. He says Mr. Perfect is his favorite Muppet. Grover. Because he lives in a trash can.
Not a scripted promo. He came up with that.
You sure about that?
Wow. So Mr. Perfect comes out and chases Sean away, and some things are just better left to the past.
Yeah.
Fair.
They show a couple of New York football giants in the crowd. It's Howard Cross, who I know, and or know who he is, and Joey Smith, who I don't. You see Sherry... Okay, Sensational Sherry. So she was attacked by Luna.
Yes.
That was the last we saw her. And then they had a big brawl, and they killed Rob Bartlett in it. So, for some reason, Sherry interrupted a Bam Bam Bigelow promo on Superstars of Challenge. Bam Bam began to manhandle her until Tatanka made the save. And so Bam Bam jumped Tatanka in the locker room and cut off the sacred red hair. Or some of it. Right? We got all that?
That's basically what happened. I didn't know the red hair was sacred.
Well, the story is that it represents the blood of his people.
They may have represented something.
Okay, it was
the fucking guy's hair.
Yeah, okay. All I know is at some point, and I forget when, but Bam Bam and Luna end up as a team. So maybe they do Bam Bam and Luna versus Sherry and Tatanka. Huh?
I mean, I presume so.
Yeah.
So memorable, I don't have any memory of it whatsoever.
I thought it'd lead to a hair versus hair. Never mind.
Typhoon versus Von Cruz.
Should I just play that hacksaw thing again? Because fuck this match.
All I know is it was Big Vito beating up Typhoon the whole time.
Yeah.
And then at the very end, Typhoon does an avalanche, a lariat, and a splash and wins. All right.
I have nothing to add.
No, it was stupid.
I struggle to stay awake at 5 p.m.
That's because of daylight saving.
No, it's
because
not.
of your entire body
Because
clock.
the goddamn match was so fucking boring.
So finally, it's time for the main event segment. It's Bobby Heenan interviewing. I wrote down Paul and Louise. I don't get either of the last names. So Heenan says, "You write me a letter. You barge in on my show. Tell me what you want to do to this lovely lady." And Paul stands up and says, "I want to ask her to marry me." And there's a big outrage, and the crowd is chanting, "Just say no." And Heenan asks them, I forget the exact words he used, but he politely asked them how many men and how many women have you been with? And they both said none. And Heenan asks, "Well, how do you know if you're sexually compatible then?"
Okay, he goes, "Been dating 5 years." The guy meaning Paul Sosnowski.
Thank you. Yeah.
Yes.
So, Paul did not want to get down on one knee. He when at the moment he told this woman he's going to ask for her hand in marriage, he's standing, she's sitting. Everything about this was strange. Bobby,
well, as we found out like a few minutes ago, nobody knew what the hell was going on.
Yes. So Bobby convinces him to get down on one knee. He proposes. He actually stop here. Bobby Heenan talks him into getting down on one knee, and he does. And Paul then pulls out a ring, and he says, "Louise, will you marry me?" And as soon as he gets to the E in me, Vince McMahon frantically tries to throw it to a break. Like, oh, maybe he used this as a cliffhanger. Maybe people will stay tuned. But she said yes too quickly. It ruined everything. So she says yes, and they have a kiss. And then the folks at Monday Night Raw played the Jeopardy theme song.
Yeah, that was weird. You know what is amazing about this, though? Because we always go back and we talk about what's amazing about these early Raws as compared to today, and how much more fun Vince was, and how, Rob Bartlett talks about how I never told him I was coming as Vince. I just did it. And can you imagine in fucking 2022, Paul Sosnowski calling the office, asking for Bruce.
May I speak to Bruce, please?
Bruce saying, "Hey, what's up?" Having, whoever call him back. Wouldn't be JJ, but somebody calls him back. Nick Khan! And they tell the guy to show up, and they say, "We're going to do something after the main event," but they don't tell him anything else. Nothing else. He doesn't know they're going to talk about him. He doesn't know that they're going to show him on footage. He doesn't know that Bobby Heenan's going to come over and be the officiant or whatever. He knows nothing. And this is the main event of their live show. This would never happen in a billion years with this WWE. I got an idea. Let's main event Raw Monday with a segment with two fans, and we're not going to smarten them up or prepare anything. We're just going to go live and see what happens. Holy smokes. A totally different era. But it was fun. It was a fun, homey, that's a good word. It was like a little homey show. You know what I mean?
There is a definite let's put on a show attitude.
Yeah, let's put on a show. The circus is in town.
If it goes great, great. If it goes bad, great.
Let's have a little fun. I want to do this, whatever. Let's put these shitty matches on the air. Let's build up some house shows where we're really going to make the money. Let's pay everybody $50. Yeah.
Now they would have two plants, and they would show them where to stand, and they would have them rehearse their lines.
And meanwhile, the plant's wrestling on Dark at the same time.
Right.
Another channel.
Will this lovely young lady accept a matrimony opportunity. Stay tuned to Monday Night Raw.
Matrimonial opportunity.
Yes.
Excellent.
So next week on Raw, Heenan said, "Do you want to get married on Raw?" And he said, "No."
They both were like, "Get out of here! Leave us alone! We're trying to get engaged on national television. Can you get out of the way?"
So next week, Kamala in action, the Headshrinkers in action, and yes, Jim Duggan versus Shawn Michaels, which I have not watched in nigh on 30 years here. But
no, we've watched it.
Have we?
I think we went back and watched it.
Nigh on 8 to 10 years. I remember it being very good.
I'm wondering if they did this match a few times. Maybe they did it again in like 95. I seem to remember like Shawn did one in his street clothes. Like he was wearing jeans and cowboy boots or something. Maybe that is next week.
Of that. I may have, but
I guess we'll see next week. But anyway, Shawn Michaels, dude, ain't gonna be bad.
It's 95 and 93, Shawn Michaels.
Yeah.
Yep.
All right, well, that's it, everybody. We're going to wrap it up for